good afternoon, good evening, everybody. However you happen to be watching and or listening to this, I want to welcome you to another episode of the Gaming Circle podcast. The podcast where, yes, if you're watching this on video, you see that I have lost a co-host, but man, I've gained great guests. I'm your host, Mr. K. Asante, TKO Asante on your Xbox, your PlayStation, your X.coms, all the places we find ourselves communicating. And this week, first and foremost, I will welcome the third unofficial chair to this show. You've seen him many a times. We've given him the keys because, you know, sometimes he needs a respite from the troubles of X.com. He comes through the back door, he gets a drink, puts his feet up, and decides to give us his hot takes. Ladies and gentlemen, One Bad Mother. What's going on, sir? How you doing this morning?
What is going, K. Asante? Hey, appreciate you leaving the key there for me. So check this
Always,
morning.
sir.
I'm still there. I appreciate it, man. And if anybody keeps seeing me pop in and out of here on camera, I'm working through some technical stuff as I'm trying to wake up after playing some Alan Wake last night. But man, yeah, a lot of great things to talk. Well, I don't know. Yeah, a lot of things to talk about really this week. It always seems like there is, even when there shouldn't be. But yeah, man. Looking forward to starting off the weekend with a little bit of slander. I guess we won't get the conspiracy theories or the Sega over under acquisition talk, but
hey, we might finish this on time today because you know it is what it is. What are we gonna do? Yes,
right.
Thank you for being here, good sir. We might get another guest, possibly. We'll see if the man is able to join us. But of course, we are joined by our honored guest here. Thank you so much for being here. This man, you've seen him on our air before. You know, I've been actually trying to get him back on the show, trying to find a good time to have him back on. And this is a great time because, man, I've been playing a lot of Spider-Man. I know he's been playing a lot of Spider-Man. I want to talk Spider-Man. So who do I bring on? But for me, one of the best representatives in this gaming streets that speaks to the PlayStation side of the house. You know, you can find him on the RGT podcast where he's hosting. You've seen him around. He's a freelancer. You've seen him as a writer on many of your favorite websites. Big Cloud Gaming joins us. What's going on, Big? How you doing?
I'm feeling good, man. Should have me.
Man, I appreciate you being here. Looking svelte, looking smooth. The man's got it together. Good job, sir. I see you doing what you're
man
doing.
looks like he's about to go to Hollywood right now. That's it.
Yeah, man, it's about to be a new millennium. It's about to be a new millennium. You know what I mean? Next year, we got a lot of things set up. A lot of good things happen. You know, outside the YouTube thing. So I've been getting prepared for. So I don't know if you guys are going to PAX. Might see you guys at PAX. You guys going? Yeah, man, the PAX next year and onwards. But a lot of offers, a lot of cool things. I'm just excited for, with me and my team. You know, like you said, RGT podcast. You guys can find me IGN as one of their their playlist curators, and I used to do video production there. And of course, lordsofgaming.net. That's where I do most of my writing. So yeah, yes, you find me there. But yeah, good day, man. It's a good day. It's a good weekend. Number one, I'm blessed. I woke up. I just shattered my weight loss goal. So, it's incredible. I feel amazing. So it's good to see everybody.
It's great to have you here, brother. It's great that you're doing well. Great to have you here. Great to see that, the man is onward and upward, and we appreciate that. And it's good, especially now that we're here on what is considered the onslaught of gaming. It is good to have Big Cloud Gaming here to give us his takes. Welcome to all the fine folks that are in the chat right now. I see you in there, Infinite Umbra. You are welcome whenever you're ready, good sir. He's got the sad face on. He'll be on here shortly, I'm sure. But yes, first and foremost, let me thank all the great folks that are in here. Appreciate you being here. Of course, Mr. Gerald Mack in here early, as he tends to be, with a $5 super chat. Thank you for being here, Gerald Mack. He says Xbox is on, PlayStation is burning. We are not the same Xbox world order. Fully operational. Graybeards, we them boys, we outside the foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, he's on fire on a Saturday morning. Thank you so much for being here, Gerald. Thank you so much. And of course, lots of great folks is in here already. For those who don't know, Mr. Everborn Bloviator, Everborn Prima Donna, is not going to be here today. He's probably listening, so I might as well be as slanderous as possible. No, he had a family situation. He has, some family things that came up, so he will not be here today. But of course, I have great guests that will continue to entertain you while he is away, and he will of course be here next week. So salute to him. He's on Twitter. He's out there tweeting. He's probably listening to this live. So salute to you, good sir. We will have you back next week, and of course, we're going to talk about Spider-Man. That's what I'm here. I really want to talk about Spider-Man. True. But before we talk about Spider-Man, I want to talk about all the other games that possibly you guys have been playing. So I will start with you, Big Cloud Gaming, as our guest. What have you been playing this week besides Spider-Man? Because that'll be at the end.
So I dropped a review as a game called Survival Mercs. Good little team over there. Basically, I've been playing a lot of games that's in early access,
Awesome.
doing reviews for. And obviously Spider-Man 2. I do plan on getting Alan Wake 2. I've been hearing great things about that as well. So it's a lot of great games. I will say, can we just appreciate that this is a phenomenal year of gaming? This is a really good year.
It's been so much that I feel like we're going to be playing these. Well, at least for me, I got a backlog that probably lasts at least
Same.
half of next year at the very least. I'm hoping that the first half of next year is slow.
Oh yeah, like we still got Liza P. Well, I mean, it kind of looks like it, right? Because like the only games real big heavy releases we got for 2024, ironically, are games that was supposed to come out this year, and that's Final Fantasy and Helldivers. So after those, that's pretty much like we don't know really much else about 2024. But for this year, again, you had games like Liza P, you had Lord to the Fallen. I mean, it's too much awesome stuff. So
yeah,
it's a great year.
And on the topic of Liza P, it came sandwiched among many other games, right? So maybe some people may have not kind of gotten the love for it they should have, but it seems to me, anybody that's played it for an extended period of time easily puts it in the Game of the Year category. Am I wrong?
And that's another thing. This is probably the most aggressive year for Game of the Year potential nominees. So you have Liza P's, which came out as a sleeper hit. Yep. Spider-Man 2, I would think, has skyrocketed to Game of the Year for a lot of people because of just how well it's done and story-wise.
And we'll get there.
You got Alan Wake 2 that people are potentially throwing in the same category. Again, we're 2 months away from Game Awards.
Remnant 2, which many people put on their Game of the Year list.
Baldur's Gate 3.
Baldur's Gate 3, which many people have put on their Game of the Year. Oh, and by the way, the 2 games that sold out of every other game on those lists and still might be snubbed on the Game of the Year list. We're talking Hogwarts and Starfield. Haven't even been spoken about.
Hogwarts Legacy, I think literally it just got like it's a shame that it got the controversy that it did because of J.K. Rowling, who had nothing to do with the game to begin with. But I made sure I put that a lot of clear because I actually did a review for that, like a written review on Logging. I was like, dude, this game is
amazing.
I don't want to sound like corny, but it really is magical experience.
It's hyperbolically amazing. It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like if you read the books, if you watch the films, you feel like a kid again, just lost in that world. There's so much you can do, so much you can explore. Even the fan service. You being able to go and see the Quidditch field, and all that stuff. I'm like, dude, all
you
this
say that
freedom.
I'm still mad that you couldn't play Quidditch in that game. Like I'm still waiting for that DLC. What's going on?
Well, WB Games has like this other game going on.
Yeah, the mobile Quidditch thing. Yeah. I saw that.
It's actually not bad. It's not bad, but honestly, it's like we were spoiled with Hogwarts Legacy to the point where I can't picture Quidditch without that type. You know what I mean? That type of level of detail and just how well they did it because it was too good.
Amazing.
It was honestly way too good.
No, and you know what? I will save that towards the end. I want to contend and think about it. I want to contend with Game of the Year talk. I want to contend with that right now because wow, like some say it's arguably the best. I would say hell yeah, it is the best year of gaming we've ever had. So put a pin in that one. We'll get back to it. OBM, how about you, sir? Besides, and I know you played some Spider-Man. You're telling me you're playing out. You haven't?
No, I actually
haven't. You have not. You have not. Interesting.
No, it's like BitCloud said. It's been
too many of them, huh?
Too many games. Alan Wake's a game I've been waiting for a while. like when it comes to story-driven games.
Salute to Paris Lily, who's in here to troll Everborn. Only find out that Everborn ain't here today.
Yeah, no, Everborn.
What's going on, brother?
Yeah, man.
Oh man, gotta escape it.
But yeah, no, I've had Alan Wake on my
Please
looking
speak
forward
on it.
to list.
Yeah.
Top,
I want to hear
top
about
two
it.
games this year coming into the year. Well, once we heard about Alan Wake, it was right up there in my top two, because in terms of narrative driven games, there's something about the way Remedy does their presentation, the way they use the medium for their storytelling. Like it's not the exact same as the way everybody else kind of delivers their narratives. Like just the way that they put the detail into the world. You're going back to Bright Falls, and it's like it feels old but fresh. I mean, it is very early in the game, but initial impressions, just the way they've worked it out with the clues and everything. Like this is a game I've been waiting for. If it hits the way it's hit for some people, I've seen some of the reviews. I've stayed away from most of it though. I don't want any spoilers. If it hits high for me, it's probably going to be in my top game of the year, along with Starfield. And then Lies of P was the game that I've talked about when I came on this show the last couple of times. I beat that 3 times. I think anybody
he beat it 3 times.
Yeah,
wow.
Ridiculous,
okay.
Right?
Okay.
Beat it 3 times, and the thing about that game that it does really well, and I think this kind of caters towards a lot of Soulsborne fans, is that they give you like different items in that game, different combinations of ways to kind of approach situations, and some of the items you have to choose like your first time playing through, like, am I going to level up this arm or this arm? And they really do change your gameplay styles considerably depending on which route you go. But as you kind of start doing New Game Plus, you can play around with a different one. And I went with like completely different gameplay styles in all 3 playthroughs. And what is nice about Lies of P is it makes it really easy, low there's not much penalty for respecking. So like once you get deep in the game, there's a way to respec, and you can just go and you can change so you have to decide on your arms, but eventually after a couple playthroughs you get all of them.
Quick question.
Quick
question. Just on the topic of respecking, I heard that recently they he's in the field, so that's hilarious.
It's not working really. I was trying Alan Wake, and this is not. I am a technical disaster.
We'll sort it out, brother. Really. Don't worry about it. You're here for your takes. You're good. So I heard that respecking was a really a matter of importance, because like before the game was considered difficult, and they've kind of quote unquote nerfed it. You've played it 3 times. Did you play it before or after they nerfed it, or did you get that both vibes before and after? How'd that go?
I started it early, like I started it like right after so I don't think I got the nerf, and I think they said something about the nerf allows you to carry more things and all that. And I don't know that I got all that stuff. But I don't know.
So you think you've beaten it 3 times before they nerfed it?
I think so. I think they did, but I heard they nerfed it twice.
Humble brag, ladies and gentlemen. Humble brag.
Well, to be fair, I heard they nerfed it twice. I think they nerfed it like right after the. Somebody said they nerfed it like right after the reviews. And then I don't know. Maybe I misunderstood.
To make it easier for consumers to play it.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's still. It still sounds like it's challenging. I have a buddy that's stuck at a part that's a little bit frustrated. So it's still a challenging game. If you like Souls challenges, you're going to get that here. It's not an easy game, even after the nerfs, from what I understand. So my playthrough definitely wasn't easy. There's some bosses that I took a long time on. So highly recommend that game. So this is probably the last show that I'll just keep telling everybody, you got to go play that game.
It's on the list. I played a few hours of it, and I'm like, I have too many games. I got to move forward, but it's on my list.
And if you get stuck, start looking at your stuff a lot of times, like
look at the hyperbolic talk in the chat from Erodimus, telling me that Lies of P is better than Bloodborne. Holy, that is big talk, brother.
I mean, to be honest, that game does a lot. It does a lot good. Like it legit takes similarities from Bloodborne
Mm-hmm.
and fixes the mistakes and
Well, all
adds so
right.
much more to it. So it
Hmm.
does hurt. Now, what's funny about this, and I think even a lot of us would agree, all it takes is one remake of
Yeah. Oh,
Bloodborne,
yeah. Of
and I
course.
think
And
the
we
crown
reset
is
it.
back.
That's right. That's right. Of
Exactly,
course. Of
exactly.
course.
Yeah.
You
The
know,
the
I
thing is
will.
though, it's
I will
cloud
have to, I have
dated.
to ask Bad Bit, who's also a Bloodborne stan from way back. I'll have to ask him what his thoughts are on that, because that's an interesting concept. All right. All right. Please continue, OBM. You were saying.
Yeah, I think it's different than Bloodborne. I don't know if my place is a mess. Whatever. I'm giving up. I'm going to give up right now. I gotta get the cats. I get a mess back. But yeah, like I think it's a lot different than than Bloodborne. It is a little bit more. It's a little bit of Sekiro. It's a little bit of Bloodborne. A little bit of Souls. The thing that's so different about that versus Bloodborne is like the variety of ways you can approach each situation. I feel like most people who play Bloodborne play like a very similar style. You have a similar approach to all the bosses. You're not really experimenting. For me, like the thing that really that hooks me into games more than anything is that whole loop of experimentation, right? That's why I like games that sometimes push back really hard and that are difficult, is because they force you to like, well, okay, next time I'm going to try this. Or you go to bed and you're thinking, it's like, oh wait, maybe I should try that, that weapon instead, or try this strategy, or I'm going to use this arm on, this Legion arm on this boss. And so that's the thing it does extremely well for me, or that's what it did well. And that's one of the things that I thought was missing from Bloodborne. And that's also missing a little bit from Sekiro, which I do love as well. So I love all those games. They all have their strengths.
Yeah.
But this one does give you a little bit more of the experimentation, trial and error stuff, which is takes me
try
kind of
your builds different. Like
okay.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
So,
all right. Yeah. That's good. So please, as a guy, before we move on to Spider-Man, because I want to talk Spider-Man, as a guy who generally has not been a spooky game person, right? I'm not a big spooky game person. I've played most spooky games. Those who have watched this show know that I've said it before. Resident Evil 7 cured me of spooky games in VR for all time. Never doing another spooky game again because of that. I even did Ghostwire Tokyo, which wasn't a spooky game necessarily, but it was on the cusp. I say it was on the cusp, right? I want to play Alan Wake 2, but I'm not sure. Like I'm not down with the jump scares. I'm not down, not down with any of those things. But it looks like the storytelling on display, Remedy's really, really doing some next level stuff. I know you said you only have a few hours in there, OBM. What do you think? Is it worth my time? Or am I just gonna like? Is this just a spooky game? I've seen the what was it? This lady who's like a mirror of herself coming to attack you and stuff. I'm like, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, so this is going to be a tough one to answer right now, because I would say if you would have asked me before this came out, I would have said, Remedy games are spooky, but they're so different and they're spooky. They're more
risk takers. What'd you say?
Yeah, like it's like the atmosphere and the mood and all that stuff. They just nail that stuff, and they're not necessarily like the type of developer that's really usually trying to get you with a ton of jump scares. Really,
yeah. And by the way, I love Control. I love Quantum Break. Remedy, love Remedy. Whatever they do, I think they're great.
I think you need to play it, and I think you need to just man up.
Oh, listen to this man. All right, okay.
I think you need to give this one a shot. If you like those games,
you told me to put on my big boy pants. All right, cool.
Yeah, you said you like those games. I think that just the attention you can tell that this team, like the attention to detail they put into everything is like, just in the first few hours you can feel it, and you can tell they've taken it another level in terms of their storytelling. It is this feels like they've been building up towards this for years, and again, this is kind of my assumption, and then you kind of see all the reviews and stuff like that. Like, people think this is their magnum opus, and I think initial impressions are that if you liked other Remedy games, you should play this. Yeah, it is a bit spooky. It's not though. The thing I'll say though, it's not like a slasher flick kind of spooky. It's got its own way of
it's
making
almost
you feel uneasy.
Twin Peaks kind of spooky.
It is Twin Peaks spooky. I do think they I think it was Miles who said this comparison. He said it was like True Detective meets Silent Hill. I thought that was a pretty good mix. And as somebody who loved first season of True Detective, after that none of those exist, right? But first season of True Detective was amazing, and I thought I think it does seem to pull in a lot more of the detective stuff into this. And it does slow it down. It really, really builds this world. They're not trying to rush it into anything.
They lost me with Mahershala Ali's wig after True Detective season 1. I was like, I'm done here. I'm done here. Get me out of here. Get me out of here. anyway, I'm sorry. Continue.
Yeah. So basically, I think you need to get into it. I do wish. You know what? Honestly, the only reason I went to bed, I didn't stay up later and play more hours, is because I wanted to get up and join you guys this morning. But other than that, I probably would have been up all night. I would have had a lot more to say. So, so I can't wait to get
cartoon villain says that Alan Wake 2 is like the X-Files mixed with the Twilight Zone spooky. Okay. I was a big fan of what's the name of that damn TV show? It was an X-Files ripoff, but I still loved it. Dang it! Now it's gonna drive me nuts until I remember the name. And of course, the great actor who was the voice actor on Destiny was in that show. So I'm gonna have to. Lance Reddick was part of that show. So I'm gonna have to find it now, because if it's anything like that, and if anybody remembers that show, and you tell me it's even closely to Fringe, thank you. If it's anywhere close to Fringe. I'm there day one, because I loved that show, even though yes, it was a complete ripoff of X-Files. It's definitely adult. Like if you got any kids around, make sure they're not around. I hear there's some body parts that are just exposed out of nowhere for no reason.
They don't go anywhere either. They're just there.
So I hear it's just like blah. They just let it hang free. Pause.
Yeah, in the initial, there is some initial, you say like, some initial, I guess, gore or whatever, like early, but again, I feel like they do, like their focus, Remedy, in terms of how they make their games scary. It is a lot more of the atmosphere and just sort of building this, building everything up with that. And that's the thing that they just like, even with Control, like, and I don't know if anybody. If you beat that, if you got to the ashtray maze and things like that, like they do such a great job with their environments and just the way, like how everything blends together, everything from like sometimes like the characters and to like they just fit everything in neatly, and there's just a very unique feel, I guess, to everything when you're playing those games. And I really wasn't a person that watched a lot of Twin Peaks. I have an idea what it is, because I was interested in going back to that. I know they did a remake recently, but or not a remake, but like a reboot or sequel many years later kind of thing. But I was into the X-Files back in the day. I like weird stuff, man. And narrative-driven games and gaming, it's hard for them to hook me if they don't have a lot of like systems and other things that are, keep me super engaged into the world, where I'm like really looking around every corner to try to build up my character or whatever. Like Western RPGs usually do, but very linear or linear-ish, or even open worlds that are, got a linear narrative to them, usually don't hook me. They're not top of my list, but Remedy, like I said, they tell stories in ways that are so weird, and nobody else does that, and it just sets them apart. So when a Remedy comes out, if you like other narrative driven games, it doesn't mean you're going to like theirs, and vice versa. They are they do kind of have their own unique place. So very, very excited about that. Like I said, that's top two. It's really probably the most I look forward to a narrative driven game in a while. So can't wait to talk more about that the next time.
I'm excited to hear more about it, because like I love what Remedy has been doing in this gaming space for now. I feel like they are maybe one or two games away from greatness, like from real greatness. And I feel like looking at Alan Wake 2, they might have finally struck it. There are moments where you're not sure if it's FMV or if it's real. And I think they play with that very well, where you're just like, is that a real video or is that the animation? And you just can't tell. And it just, that's what they want. And it's really, really, really well done. And I also
you have a 4090, right? So yeah,
I have a 4090. So you know, I'm ready to melt my face off. So obviously that's getting played on PC. Yes, sir. I also hear that even though they don't necessarily have the Max Payne license anymore, they're kind of stitching the Max Payne world together with this world with a Max Payne-like character in Alan Wake 2. Now this is just what I've heard. I don't know if that's really a thing or not. But yes,
that's one remake the world will go crazy for.
Right? Absolutely. Yes. But okay.
There's definitely some control in this. So they did bring some control.
Yeah, it's expected. Yeah, Ninja.
So salute to the 117, 118 people watching this right now. Please hit that like button if you haven't done so already. Thank you for being here. Mr. Joanna Dark with a $2 super chat saying Everborn Saga hiding from his kneecapitation. Oh boy. So okay, for those who are here for the reckoning, right? And I'll take a quick moment because Bit Cloud, you might not know, we have a reckoning going on here, right? And salute to you, Mr. Joanna Dark, for pointing this out. Let me switch this up real quick, just so people really get the full effect of what's happening here. So we have a reckoning going on here, and this reckoning is because Mr. Everborn Saga has decided that there's no way that Mario will beat Sonic. Okay, there's no way, and I'm playing my Mario footage on the screen. Yeah. Mario Wonder would beat Sonic, right? Hence you see Paris Lily in the chat ready for the slander. Hence you see everybody, they are ready to take him to town because that is the most hilariously ridiculous take ever, and we actually put bets to it, right?
Oh no!
But people now are expecting me to rip him to shreds as he deserves. But we've only gotten the Japan numbers, so calm down, people. He's not here this week. Let's make sure the slander is deserved when he is around, ladies and gentlemen.
Make sure, you gotta make sure he's around whenever.
That's right. When he is around,
the results.
We're gonna take it to him. But for now, pause. For now, I'm not even going to talk to. I'm not even going to talk about Mario Wonder, because you know what Mario Wonder is. Elephant Tusk Mario's out here. He's taking no prisoners. Even the spider is not safe. But speaking of the spider, let us move on to Spider-Man, ladies and gentlemen. Big Cloud, I know you. I'm sure you platinum it already. Have you?
Yep.
Okay. Let us first and foremost start there, because I really want to talk about Spider-Man. I am, for those who don't know, I am literally at the very last level where they say, hey, if you go further, you can't go back. That's the end of the game. And now I'm like, all right, never mind. And I'm doubling back and I'm cleaning up the world and all this as much as I can do before I get to that last level. That's where I am right now. So, Big Cloud, I know you played the first one. I'm sure you played all the others. I have as well. What is your relationship with this game before you got to Spider-Man 2?
I mean, Spider-Man by itself is my favorite Marvel character. So
there you go.
I was going into this, expecting a lot of cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like when to put it like this, when 2018 came out, and that fight where you're going against Doc Ock and you're on the side of the building, I'm sitting going, wow, I actually have lived long enough to see games do what we were getting in the Tobey Maguire movies, but even better than what we were getting in the Tobey Maguire. So my expectations were already high going into this to begin with. I didn't really have any doubts the team was going to deliver. And then as soon as I hit start and then we get to the opening fight and then we see the new web wings and how the world has just been expanded upon, you know what I mean? There's so much more detail.
The web wings are amazing, sir.
This is the most incredible thing they've done in a long time. And what's crazy about this, and you already know there's a particular scene that they've done with a certain character, it kind of just made me go, yeah, you know what? I'm not worried about Wolverine, because there's blood
what
in this
you
game.
you were worried about Wolverine? I was never
Well,
worried. Insomniac.
the reason why
I mean,
is 'cause I don't think
Spider-Man's
we
a
can handle the
murderer.
game
We've seen
with blood.
the clips.
Oh yeah, let's talk about
Well,
that for a moment. Spider-Man is a murdering mother effer. Like, stop the cap.
Yeah, I know.
He
I
is
was thinking
killing
about the blood
everybody.
aspect. Well, when I saw it, I was like, oh, okay. So Insomniac's not afraid to put blood on screen? All right,
Yes.
bet. So I really have nothing to worry about for Wolverine. And then we get into the gameplay, we get into the story. And I was like, wow, this is literally that, that multiverse part 2 type of story, if that makes sense. There's a lot of cool side missions in here. One particular side mission, I don't know if you've done it. Yeah, the Santa, did you? The one with the fire little, I think they're called embers. You guys like to burn the city down. Did you do the last mission?
I haven't done the last mission yet. I'm going back to it
Make
now.
sure you do that.
Yeah,
And once you do that, you hit me in the DM and then tell me,
All
did
right.
you see that? Did you see that coming? That's all I gotta say.
All right, cool,
There's so much happening in this game that they set up for part 3 and onwards that honestly, Insomniac Games, I think personally, they've earned that right to be called S tier. And a lot of people, and I've said this for a while. I've said this for a while. This studio has single-handed, I think I said this to Paris Lily. Sony Santa Monica, or not Santa Monica, Insomniac has been like literally single-handedly holding PlayStation 5 in the relevance period. Like they've been the main studio. And one of the things that I've seen that was weird with the community, especially in the PlayStation side, which shocked me, was like, oh, they're not on Naughty Dog's level. They never dropped the game that was critically acclaimed. Well, they broke the curse. Spider-Man 2 not only is universal acclaimed, this is their first 90+ game. It sets up so much, and it also sets a bar even higher. And it's like, I'm looking at both these studios. And again, I don't know the situation we have with Naughty Dog, but as a consumer, if I look at it from a consumer first mentality, right? I have to go about what you've done for me lately, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
As of late, all I've got from Naughty Dog is the same game,
over
remastered,
and over again. Yes.
remade. And guess what's happening again? I'm getting the second game that we just had, which, by the way, divided the fan base, is getting remade. Nobody asked for this. And also the lack of effort being put into this. There's no factions that's being tagged onto this. And on top of that, we're getting even more dreadful news that factions is on ice and potentially it's going to get canceled. So these are things that I can't sit here as a PlayStation guy. I'm like, this is not like, this is acceptable. No way this is acceptable. I can't get behind this, especially when you're charging me $70 just for a new slab of paint.
See, Jamal,
listen, all of you guys
I
play
see
last.
Jamal Lee in there. Jamal, salute to you. He says Sucker Punch is better. That's a tough call, sir. I think Ghost of Tsushima is one of the best games ever made. One of the best games ever made, no doubt. But Insomniac is prolific, man. Wherever Insomniac has found themselves, they make S-tier games. They were on VR, S-tier games in VR. They went on Xbox, S-tier games on Xbox, and now they're here. So I kind of feel like, but I hear you, sir, because yes, I'm waiting for the next Ghosts. I'm waiting for the next Ghost of Tsushima.
So
like,
I would agree with him. I would agree with him because the Ghost of Tsushima was really, really good. Like they're definitely in another tier. And here's the wild part. Just to add on to what he just said. Even though Ghost of Tsushima didn't hit a 90 on Metacritic, I would rate Ghost of Tsushima higher than Last of Us 2. That is how much I like Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima was a great story.
I would too.
I love that game. And I thought it got
not, maybe not, but graphically, yeah. Oh, and we lost the man. Hold on. We lost the man. Unfortunately, let's I'm sure he'll be back, but let's get him reposition this man. What happened here? But it's all good. Yeah, you were saying.
Oh no. I would rate that, higher than what we got for than what we got for Last of Us Part 2. Like I love that game as well. But here's the thing too, though. It puts pressure. And I like this pressure that, Insomniac is putting on the PlayStation Studios. Why? It's a standard they got to meet. You know what I'm saying? So by the time we get to Ghost of Tsushima 2 and you see the new ninja assassin-like techniques that, Jin Sakai has learned since becoming an actual, ninja as opposed to a samurai, it's going to be cool to see it. But again,
one thing. So Jamal is in the chat. He wants to have that conversation. He says, your favorite parts of Spider-Man are interactive cutscenes. Say I'm lying.
Okay, so tell me you didn't play the game without telling me you didn't play the game. So the web wings not only open this game up in a different point of view by itself, the combat in this game, Venom powers, everything. This game is I haven't even gotten into the symbiote. I haven't even gotten into the symbiote part. This game does worlds more than what you got in 2018.
Yeah,
it's so refreshing. It's so addictive. Just that alone.
So, but I hear you. I hear you, and I agree with you. I do agree with you. I think that it is. They took the core idea of Spider-Man and they added so much more on top, but they were also not limited by the story and the lore. They went to different places that is not really part, because I'm a Marvel zombie from way back. I'm all about I have the comics. I know it all in me, ingrained in my skull since before I could grow these. And I know they've changed some things, but they threaded the needle so well that it doesn't matter that they've changed those things.
Right,
so I think it's really good. It naturally works in their ecosystem. It really works. Yeah, you can tell that the people who made this game love Spider-Man like we do, right? So I'll give you that. But I will say, and I was explaining this on a show a couple days ago. To me, and I want to get your take on this, BitCloud. To me, this is like the best cheesecake you've ever had. Like the best cheesecake you've ever had. And this is the 4th slice. And oh, by the way, here's some strawberries on top. But it's still the 4th slice of the best cheesecake you've ever had. It's like, oh man, there's just still no cheesecake better, but it's the 4th slice. You know what I'm saying? That's the best way I can describe it.
And I love this because it's like, again, it sets up so much more. Because by the time you get into a Spider-Man 3, that PS5 Pro thing will be out, whatever they're going to do. So they're going to push it even more. So I don't know if they're going to do more visuals or they're going to do more with the world. There are some stuff in here that I kind of wish was in the game, like a dynamic day and night cycle. Like I would love that to be part of the game. Yeah. I would love there to be different changes.
Between Miles and Peter, like they let you do that all the time. But sometimes in the story, when you want to do that, you can't.
Yeah, you're locked.
I wish it was a bit more dynamic there. I wish it was more GTA 5 in that way. They kind of gave you GTA 5 light in the switching between the two of them, but it was real cool what they did do, though. You know, what do you think?
Yeah, it's like you have to follow. It's not like all the way like this, but it's like a key moments, right? You have to follow a script. If that makes sense, like, you know, like, hey, Peter's required. You can't do Miles. Miles is unavailable right now, or something like that. And then you have to do this. And then it's like, oh, Miles is unavailable, but then you're stopping a random street crime, and then comes Miles.
And he's just chilling, like, hey, what up, bro?
Knock you off someone, then he gives you the fist bump, or they do the point.
Yeah.
I like that. I was like, wow, okay. Miles doesn't look too busy to me, but okay, I guess I can't do this. I got to do this, and then you understand it later on why they're doing it. But at the same time, I do feel like you are a little restrictive in that, because there are key moments, especially when you're trying to do like certain trophies, just want to get them done. You can't really do it early on. You gotta wait a little bit. To prolong it. But
you know what Jamal is saying. Although I see you in there, he said he's here for the smoke. You know, like I do hear you. Like some of the best shots I took were cutscenes, because like when you and you know there are some spoilers and there are some that won't. There will be no spoilers here. What you're watching here is out of context, out of order. Don't worry about any of that. You know, it's all good. I do hear you when you say there are a lot of interactive cutscenes, and they are great. They are really great. But I feel like the marketing of the game also put all those interactive cutscenes on Front Street, so you don't get to see the really fun moment-to-moment stuff, because those are spoilers, basically. It's kind of like Starfield. If you played Starfield and I tell you what's the LBRB button do, if you haven't played it, you don't know what it does. If you have played it, you do know what it does, but nobody told you about that in the marketing. That's kind of a little bit of what Spider-Man does here, because just the traversal alone, you're like, yo, man, I hear you, Insomniac, but when's that Superman game coming out? Like, what's good? Like, it is transcendently fun and amazing to traverse that world. Like, it's been my mission in New York to never touch the ground. Like, I'm in New York, I'm going from borough to borough, like edge to edge. My feet
seeing
don't
the
touch
dynamic
the ground.
light hit you when you do those angles and turns. It's like
amazing.
This is
it really
incredible,
is.
and it really does make you want a superhero. And personally, I don't want a Superman, but you know, I really want out of this Sonic. I would love to see them do tackle Iron Man with just this level of detail. I would love to see it. I think these guys can kill Iron Man at this point.
Yeah.
But Superman, I don't know. Like everybody keeps saying Superman is too hard to handle or too hard to control. I don't think that's the case.
It's
I
not.
think,
Well, the problem with Superman
what
has
you
never
do
been the
about it.
traversal. The problem with
It's-
Superman has
it's the
always
power
been
level.
the power level and the agency. Who can kill Superman?
Yeah.
How can Superman feel
Right.
risk? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
unless
the
you-
best TV show for Superman is not a show about Superman. It's about Superman's kids and how they are weak people who need to be helped.
Right. Like once you're doing something like, you know, like you have him super grounded at 1st and then like he's like, you remember that movie Man of Steel, right? Remember like
Oh,
he
yeah.
didn't learn to fly until like halfway through the movie that he's like flying, and then now he's actually complete in a sense, because he knows what he is. Maybe that's the way you approach it. You go about it like doing kind of like stopping random things, you know, like ships
Yeah.
falling apart like he does in the movie, you know, stuff
Yeah.
like that, showing off power, showing off an engine, so to speak. And then as you get halfway through, then you fly, and then you do that, maybe. But you know, I don't know. There's just so many things, so many avenues, so many layers to Superman.
So let's talk about, before we move on. Let's talk about the controversies about this game, right? I think it can't be denied that unlike any other Insomniac game, and let's be clear, every Insomniac game has had some level of bugs. All games have some level of bugs. This one seemed a bit less polished than most. I have my theory on that, because usually if you've seen Insomniac's pedigree and history, specifically in the PlayStation, as a PlayStation studio, they usually release the game and then later they release the various modes, meaning they'll start bare bones, maybe they'll give you a performance and a quality, right? And then later on they'll give you New Game Plus. Later on they'll give you the what do you call it, the RT performance mode, all the various slices that give you a bit more nuance. But they work on the core concept of it first and give that out to you first. In this Spider-Man 2 game, however, they gave you multiple options from jump, which was cool, but the game is far more buggy than any of their other Spider-Man from day one. Can we agree to that, or do you think it's been overblown? Is my question. I'll start with that.
Well, so for that, I would like, okay, so I've seen a mixture of different things for this. Like people show it like their main menu. You know, when you hit start, like the main menu phase it out, doing weird like you know when it cuts to like them either sitting on the balcony looking at the city and it says press start, or them staring somewhere. It will cut to these things and do these weird glitch. I've seen that. Wow. I've seen the infamous one where obviously the one where he was on a bike, which I don't know how the hell dude got on the train tracks, but okay, he was on the train tracks, he was on the bike, and he was on the train tracks. And then you have the what was the other one? There was that one, then God, it was like another. There was another one. I forgot what it was. But personally, me, the thing I've experienced with this was clipping. I don't know if you guys experienced it, like when you knock out an enemy and their body kind of like goes into a building, like, and they're like phasing into it, and they're shaking,
and it kind of phases into the world a little bit. Yeah.
That's happened to me on the game, and the game crashed on me twice.
Yeah,
that's
me too.
The extent
crashed
of what
dashboard.
Yep. Yeah. That's
what do you think of the concept of, somebody told me that when you're mainlining the story, when you're playing the story missions, no issues. But when you're out in the open world doing the random encounters, that's where you get a lot more of the bugs.
Yeah, or like a crazy extreme mixture of two. Yeah, because I was putting a lot of crazy hours into this. Like I'm telling you, I was literally like AFK, like no one could find me. Like I was on this nonstop. So I was playing this from damn near like midnight or 10 at night to like 7 in the morning type of thing. That's how many hours I was putting in at night. And I platinumed it in super fast because I was just like obsessed with what I was seeing, you know, different
great story, keep you going. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So when we got to the open parts, like when you do like those challenge arenas, you know what I'm talking about, the little challenge things, and then you go and do like a mission, I did notice a few things like that. Like it felt like the game was a little, not necessarily taxing on the system, but it felt like the system needed like a little, okay, guy, let me breathe. And then it would do the blues, like it would do the little dashboard, crash type of thing. It did happen a few times, and I do think, personally, this game probably like they probably knew that the game was like 95, if not 97% done, and then ready to go, and they figured that was good enough to pass everything with no issues, and then just drop the patch if necessary for it. Because you think about it, they did something that I never thought they would ever do, and that's mess up a continuity situation with Miles with the flag. I didn't even notice that.
Bro, I was gonna talk to you about that. So here's the thing. Let's speak on that for a moment, okay? I said it facetiously. I don't mean it seriously, but I kind of do. It seems like when they went for Miles Morales, they were like, okay, we are not, much like Sucker Punch went with Ghost of Tsushima, they went, look, call in the experts. We are not going to be caught flat-footed here. And they went all out and they captured the Latinx, the Afro-Latin experience like chef's kiss perfectly. They got that fade looking tight. They got the Timbs on. They got the music right. The whole thing was expert level. Like, you know, I hear people talking about tears when they first see Christmas in Miles's house, because that's literally mimicking their experience, right? They really did it. And it seems to me like for Spider-Man 2, they went, all right, y'all did a great job. Now let's fire all of the diversity people because we're trying to save a buck. Because in this one, and don't get me wrong, the game looks great, the game plays great, but they give Miles very much short shrift in that direction. His hair is not what it was. It's all right, but let's be honest, it's kind of like a half step compared to what it should be. It's all right, right? His family dynamic is not the same. It's almost like they just kind of went, yeah, that one was for him, but this one is Spider-Man 2, so yada, 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 forget all of that. And missing the Puerto Rican for the Cuban flag, that kind of seems synonymous of that. What are your thoughts?
I mean, there's clearly a different direction in this. Like the message,
Yeah.
I don't know if you call it on in this game, is balance. Like that's what they're talking about. Like Peter's life is completely out of balance.
Out of balance.
Yeah. Like he's having trouble processing being a Spider-Man and being a family man and all this stuff. Plus Aunt May, you know, in 2018 passed away, hurt him emotionally, left him broken in a sense. For Miles is trying to come into his own, but also like, you know, when he's got his mom, you know, his mom's like, listen, yeah, you're a superhero, but you still got to think about your future. So he's got all this, and they're pushing on these, and it's cool. Makes sense. It adds a lot of layers to it. But at the same time, it's like, okay, but what about this? That was Miles Morales. You know, I don't remember this being here. And then,
and we're not gonna do spoilers, but there are some pieces of the story where I'm just like, I'm sorry, Insomniac, you know better than this, and I know you know better than this because you've shown me that you guys are a Spider-Man fan. How can he have sixth sense, right? A Spidey sense that's world-renowned, well-known, but people can still sneak up on him. And people sneak up on him multiple times in this game. And I'm just like, nah, homie, this is not cool, right? This is the MCU adjacent New York, but it's still New York post 9/11. You don't see any of the Twin Towers. How come ships, and I'm just gonna leave it like that because those who played there know what I'm talking about. How can ships literally fly into New York City over the ocean, right there, the scenic route, and nobody catches it? It just kind of shows up out of nowhere and there's no alarm anywhere. Come on, man. Like, it just kind of went, come on, people. Y'all could have done better. There are small little gaps in the story that just kind of irked me a little bit. Just a little bit. What do you think, Big Cloud?
Yeah, no, I see though. Yeah, it definitely was like a little off. It just like it wasn't game breaking, but it was like a little like off putting at certain moments because you know they're trying to like, you know, they do them zoom shots, right? They try to make the moment impactful. It kind of takes a little bit away.
It takes a little shine off of it a little bit. Yeah, it's
like, why is this here? You know, for example, like a lot of people were complaining about Miles's hair. It didn't really bother me, but it's like, then you gotta look at if you're talking about realism, right? Them trying to push realistic look or whatever. You notice the hair, the mask is all flush.
But you see,
there's no way your hair is that flush with that type of hair.
You see, this is my point. The last game, they were like, look, man, we are not going to be outdone. It's kind of like Ghost of Tsushima 1 comes out and everybody's so like amazing. The Japanese audience is like, you know, bowing low in respect. And then Ghost of Tsushima 2 comes out and it's like a high school version of that, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's how it feels a little bit. I'm just like, come on, they phoned it in. Why? They did so well the last time. I don't know why they did that this time. You know, it's crazy
because, like, you know, in many ways I felt like they were like I don't want to sound petty, right? I don't want to sound messy, but I feel like they were taking the jab at Naughty Dog because you notice, like, you're playing the scene right here. They have like these little time jump type of moments, like they did for Last of Us Part 2. But they're like, hey, we know how to do them too. Like, hey, no, we can do those, but we can do those even better. And like, it was like they were just having fun with the game. So it was like, damn, there's just so much happening, in the game. But I do. It does suck that the game wasn't a perfect launch like 2018 was. Granted, 2018 also had a few bugs.
Had a little bugs here and there.
Yeah, like a few weird bugs like here and there, but nothing the same as this. But when you get past the bugs, right, and when you just play the game and enjoy it, it's like there's no arguing. This is the best superhero story we've gotten in years.
From a story perspective, it is beyond reproach. It's great. It's great. Great. Yeah.
What they've done with Kraven the Hunter,
oh man,
is the most insane thing. I didn't think I needed in a Spider-Man game. I didn't think they were actually going to do it justice. I thought they were going to do just like snippets of here and there. Yeah. No, Kraven is a menace, ladies and gentlemen. Kraven is a menace in this game. And badass at the same time. And they capture it all. He's so insane in this game. There's so many layers to Kraven for this. And then when you get into, all the other characters, the side characters,
we know Venom shows up. When Venom shows up,
Venom's in here.
Boy.
When Venom shows up, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's hard for me to just like sit here and just dwell on the small things because there's so many insane things happening, and it's happening at such a great pace. The pacing was on point. I really love that. Like they kept you going.
Yeah, that's how I keep hearing.
Yeah, it was really, really good. So every twist and turn did a new character or this character. Or, hey, you remember that character? Well, guess what? That character. I like, what I'm saying? Like, I love that. And it was like, wow. And Tony Todd, man, listen, they already talked about potentially doing a spinoff with Venom.
I would love that.
I'm on board. I'm on board.
Man, he's great.
What Tony Todd did, not only was he menacing, but he was scary, and that's what I liked. There's some scenes with MJ.
Man. Oh, it's just
it's the scenes with MJ. You know what I mean? Like involving, the stealth. I'm like,
man.
Oh man, like that just opens up another layer.
About the stealth a little bit. Like Gunfire in the chat asked the question: what about the MJ missions? What are your thoughts, sir? People have been, I see online people giving smoke.
A lot of people are divided.
MJ is a little bit Pollyanna. She's a little bit Mary Sue. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So they retcon Mary J because y'all know Silver Sable in 2018. They said Silver Sable and I guess MJ are friends, and she taught her hand-to-hand combat.
Taught her hand-to-hand combat. Even though she didn't teach her, she didn't teach her hand-to-hand combat. She just taught her how to sneak up on people and get the drop on you. That's all they taught her. That she doesn't. If she sees you, and she taught her how, and she gave her that Hogwarts bag that has indefinite rocks in it. You know what I mean? So she can always throw rocks. You know what I'm saying? But yes, what are your thoughts?
When it comes to those, so personally, I was like, oh god. The first thing I said when I saw the MJ was, I'm like, oh god, could we just skip these all together? I mean, it's bad enough you did them with both Miles and her, right? In the last one. But then you started seeing what they were trying to do. So basically, to put it like this, they used the MJ missions to build up tension, if that makes sense. So the first couple ones might feel similar to 2018 in a sense, right? But once you get to the halfway part of the game and you get to the Kraven missions and you see the twist with the black suit, you're like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing. Granted, it might not save her doing all this stuff. I mean, they give her what? Like Peter gives her a web launcher on the gun. She gets a shot pistol. Obviously, she has she had a shot pistol. She had the web.
Well, hold on. This is where the Pollyanna, the Mary Sue talk gets real heavy, right? Because Peter didn't give her a web launcher, right? She found a web launcher on some board, on the ground somewhere, and
he just left that randomly.
And then somehow MacGyvered that into the weapon real quick, and we're just like, when did she turn into an engineer real quick?
Like it's like a nod to Joel from The Last of Us. I was like, that's what I was thinking. Huh? You guys thinking jabs? I don't know, but I mean, it was cool. Like this is the voice world. It was cool. It was fine. Like especially when we got to that. When we got to that, twist, to the twists. There's a lot of twists. So me saying that twist, not spoiling. KSI to get out. There's so many.
Trust me.
When you get to the twists, you're like, oh, I see what you're doing. And then you might look at it differently. And me, I was like, you know what? Even though I probably wouldn't have gone about it that way, I get it. Just to add more to how vicious XYZ and all this stuff is. So I get it. Then the symbiotes, what I love about the symbiotes is how authentic they made these symbiote in this. You know what I mean? I love it. They didn't do what I thought they were gonna do. And this is in the trailer. Yeah, this is in the trailer, by the way. So this isn't a spoiler because you guys saw it in the trailer. But you know, the meteorite, they legit showed that yes, it's for meteorite. This wasn't made into the lab and all that stuff. Like, thank God. So I was like, don't do that. Don't do that. So there's a lot of stuff. I was like, yeah, this is so good. So good. So the symbiote is the best thing.
One thing. I saw Aaron in the chat, and salute to you, good sir, and all the great people continuing the great conversation on here. Thank you guys for being here and keeping the show lively. I saw Aaron say he loves the show, he loves the game, but for him, it's not going to be game of the year, right? He loves the game. Game's real great, but for him, it's not game of the year. And we'll get into our news stories proper and all of that, but. And you know what? I think let us transition to the news stories proper. But before we transition to the news stories proper, let's speak a little bit to that Spider-Man, that last part.
Yeah, to Jamal's point here, he said those are going to beat in 8 hours. That's false. It's going to be longer than 8 hours, brother. It's going to take about 18.
What I will tell you, and it's funny you say this. What I will tell you is, I mainlined the game, only doing side quests that came on my path, right? Mainline the game all the way to the very last mission. And that very last mission is probably like 30 minutes max, right? And my mainlining to get to that last mission, when I was there, it was 18 hours. That was mainlining of the game, right? So I expect that about 19, 20 hours is I beat the game. And that's not taking into consideration all the side quests, because as soon as I hit that last mission, I doubled back and I started. But when I hit that last mission, I was at 18 hours. So it's about 20 hours. 19 hours. I would admit.
It took about 30. Some people take 30 hours to platinum it. Me, it took me 22 hours to platinum it. Mind you, I was doing all the side stuff as it was popping up on the map. So all the things, doing all that, and I was getting so much love on the character. Yeah. So it took me about 18 hours to almost platinum, about 22 to platinum. Actually, that's what it was. 22. I capped that. So yeah, it's a lot, man. It's a lot going on. It's not. Listen, I know it might seem like for what you guys see that is a short story. It's not
a short story. There's a lot more to it. Yeah, it's a lot more to it. Absolutely. On that, I 100% agree. There's a lot more to it. It's very much. If you're into the Marvel stuff, this is catnip for you. You'll love it. I said catnip. You'll get why I said that. It was a very good story. You'll enjoy it. Let's double back on the idea of the reviews here. Game of the year, all of that, right? It's getting, as you see here from the roundup I pulled up here, rave reviews left and right. GameSpot 8 out of 10, right? IGN 8 out of 10. Game Informer 9.5 out of 10. Almost perfect scores across the board. Even though yes, it's buggy, and I know there are a lot of Xbox folks out there going, "Well, Starfield should have gotten the same." Yes, we hear you. All that is. I hear you, but unfortunately, we're dealing with what is and what is not what could have been or should have been, right? Do you think? And I'll start with you, OBM. I know you haven't played this, but you've probably been around the conversation. You've seen a lot of the zeitgeist energy around Spider-Man. Do you think this game gets to be part of the Game of the Year? Is it nominated at the Keeleys?
I mean, it seems like it's already nominated, as far as I can tell. I haven't played it, so I don't want to, provide too much. I'm not going to provide much of an opinion on whether it deserves the score or not. And honestly, I think sometimes when we start talking about 0.5% this way or that way, it's not that
it loses
meaningful.
the thread. Yeah.
I think Metacritic does. It's kind of weird, where everybody's waiting, hoping that it stays at 9 instead of 8.9. Does that really change the overall?
Why have we given Metacritic so much power, right? Why do they have
it's ridiculous.
So much power?
Especially,
I don't know. They label so many different websites biased. You know what I mean? Like IGN can't give a game a high review, but hey, did they give it a low review? That'll work. You know what I'm saying? It's it's weird. Like same thing goes with GameSpot, same thing goes with Game Informer, Kotaku.
Yeah. I think the system itself is given way too much credence because it is flawed, like just the fact that if somebody's on a 5-point scale and to them a 3 out of 5 is a good game, that translates to 60%, which is a D minus. Basically it's a bad game, right? Like on the Metacritic scale. And so whether somebody's on this one of those scales that has more limited, thinks the game is good versus great, it can have a great weighting on that, or they give a lot of weighting to specific sites like PC Gamer or Your Game. What makes their opinions much more valuable than anybody else's? I don't really know. It doesn't seem like there is much of a reevaluation of standards and who really understands or who really plays everything. So at the end of the day, I think we spend way too it's getting to the point where we spend way too much time on it. I think the thing that bothered me more about when we went back to the Starfield stuff, I think the thing that bothered me more was the clickbait stuff. It's I understand YouTubers that are trying to just hustle and get clicks with negative. I understand when they do it, but when PC Gamer is putting out an article every day and it feels like you're reaching every time, I would think that they should be above that stuff, right? You would think that they would, but they're not, because they got to keep the lights on, and and they kind of build energy around games depending on depending on what's going to really get the audience to click and listen. And so certain developers right now, because they're whether they're associated with things that are on a hot streak for negative attention, will garner more of that. And then I think on the flip side, if you've been if you've been doing well for a little while, I think you're going to probably get that extreme. And I do find that a lot of the general consensus tends to flow like there's the initial big content creators, big sites, whatever. They sort of set the tone and everybody kind of follows. It does feel like a herd type of mentality with a lot of the stuff, but I think it works all different ways, right? So Insomniac has been very consistent, so I expected that unless they drop the ball big time here, they're probably going to come out and perform well, and they have. And and they probably, like I said, they've been the most consistent. I would agree with BitCloud. They have been Sony's best studio. Like when you just consider the amount of
that
content.
Was a steal of a purchase. A steal. Yeah. Holy crap. What a steal.
And I do think some developers can learn from this, because the one thing I do like that comes out of them, getting a lot of this attention, and granted, it is with the Disney IP, it is with Marvel. I would like to see more of this, credit given, with other IPs as well. But, because they didn't get that as much credit with Sunset Overdrive either. But I think when games are 20 hours and they're paced well and they don't put a lot of bloat in there, and it sounds like I was listening to Rand talk about it yesterday too, and I think he kind of backed a lot of what BitCloud said. He said it was paced really well. They scaled back a lot of the side stuff that felt like it was just filler, right? Like they lessened that.
They do have a few spider-bot superfluous ridiculousness, but
it's
not as bad as before. It's not as bad.
And that was the stuff that annoyed me in the first one a lot. That and the stealth stuff, obviously. So, which I know it's back to.
And the stealth stuff is not as bad this time around as it was. I will give them credit for that. No, but I hear you. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, so I think it just at the end of the day, there is something to learn. Like I think the one thing Insomniac does really well is kind of what I'm gathering from hearing everybody's opinions on this game, is like just learning how to scope things, right? And I think that's why they can also put out games in a timely fashion, because they're not trying to put out a game that you're going to play. It's going to be the only game you're going to play for 2 months, right? Like they don't need it to be a 100-hour game. And I would like to see more developers do this. And then if you want to create that engagement loop, just create, and I know they're going to come out with a new game plus, but come up with some interesting new game plus ideas, so that gives people reasons to, throw in some gadgets maybe that you don't get towards the end of the game that are fun to use, and you just want to go back and play the whole game with them, right? Stuff like that. stuff like that can make. I mean, that's what kept happening with me with Lies of P. It's like I got something and it was towards the end of the game. It's like, man, I just want to go try this out at the first level, and then I kept going back, and then it just one thing led to another, and I was on another playthrough. So like, I think that's some takeaways that for a lot of other developers. But I think the reason why a lot of other developers don't do it is because, you know, that if you don't have a giant IP attached to it, it is hard to keep the mind share, right? So, but I am happy that they did that. They took that route, that they went with a 20-hour well-paced game. There is enough stuff. I don't need Spider-Man to last 100 hours,
Yep.
So,
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I've heard the conversations on it. I think I've just gotten to the point where does it really end up mattering? Like Ghost of Tsushima scored much lower than Last of Us 2, but what won the fans over, that year, what kind of had the staying power seemed to be Ghost of Tsushima, right? So, in Starfield, scored much lower than a lot of some other Xbox games, really, even, and and it set all kinds of records. So I think at the end of the day, like, we're getting to the point now. There's other things beyond just Metacritic, and maybe we're just putting too much weight into it, because that's what us old heads, the graybeards, grew up with. That was the way we figured it out. We opened up the EGM and figured out which one was better. What are we gonna buy? So and now there's so many other ways to go about it. We have so many podcasts and content creators and streamers and just so many other ways to kind of keep games, for people to find out what they like.
No, I understand. I understand. Well, okay, so we'll double back when we talk Game of the Year, but it is interesting that it has shot to the top, and I think by and large it deserves to be part of the conversation. But to win, though, that would be tough, because there's a lot out there.
And a lot of people forget the amount of hitters that have dropped.
Exactly. Like Alan Wake 2 went from, hey, this might be interesting. Like, salute to the man with 100K, Mr. Randall Thor 19. He is the most even-keeled dude I listen to. Like, nothing excites him. He was super excited for Alan Wake 2.
I heard that.
Super. I'm just like, Rand, really? Like, what happened? Like,
and I'm on Rand's wavelength for Alan Wake. So like that, if he's that far ahead of me and he's that excited, so that has me thinking like this. It's going to be an Alan Wake weekend or week or whatever.
There's a Baldur's Gate crowd out there. I still haven't stopped playing Starfield. There's just so much. So it's like that Game of the Year convo will be a painful one.
I think there's already 5 fixed in there right now. I don't think there's room for one. I think there's like 10 games fighting for one spot now, because I do think Baldur's Gate, Zelda, Mario are going to be in there no matter what. And then I think Spider-Man is going to be in there, and it sounds like Alan Wake's probably going to sneak in there too.
Yes.
So
that brings us back to like a situation where you ever with Jedi Survivor?
Yes,
Jedi Fallen Order got stuff.
It's not even going to get. It's not even going to be in the top 10 anymore.
So, there's so many games. I was saying, like, there needs to be a bigger list of nominated. But the thing is, they got to cut it down to 4 or 5. It's like, okay, process of elimination. What did this? What did that? And they're gonna go by milestones. They're gonna go by acclaim. That's the other thing. And
that's the other problem with it.
It,
even the Game Awards, it's like, I wish there was a situation where there's like, okay, there's about, like, we think this is a high candidate. If you're going to be on the panel, you have to have at least played all these games.
By the way, voter on Game of the Year, Mr. Paris Lilly says 100% Alan Wake 2 is going to be logged for Game of the Year knob. You know what I mean? So there you go.
Well, and
there's just too many. Like, but you got to ask yourself this, Paris: are you going to throw Hogwarts Legacy? Is Hogwarts Legacy going to get logged?
It's not even get considered.
Which is
they don't even say the
we know
word.
Baldur's Gate's going to do it, because
which
Baldur's
is
Gate's
still
got
to
so much
this day
universal acclaim.
Considered the most selling game of the highest selling game of the year.
Of the year.
Now. Hogwarts Legacy, even now, it's the #1, and I bet you it won't even get a nomination.
It deserves a nomination just for the unnecessary drama that team went through for this game by itself. Like, it's that damn good. And J.K. Rowling had nothing to do with it. That's the other good thing. That's the other is this slide. I'm like, people are not looking at that, but
right.
again,
It's not fair to the developers because like a lot and most of those developers didn't share her opinions, right? So it's like, it's unfortunate, but I think that's what it, that's some of the challenges. It's between that, its popularity. Although I do think Baldur's Gate is going to win it this year. I think that it just created enough of a like the fact that it's it's an independent developer, even though they're pretty big. They worked on a beloved franchise. And the fact that they came out and set a new bar for that type of genre, like isometric RPGs generally have very low production values because they don't sell very well. I love them actually. I actually beat Wasteland 3 this year, so and I played Divinity Original Sin 2, so I do like those types of games. And Baldur's Gate 3 was awesome, but those types of games generally don't have high production values. I think they set a bar in terms of like the way that, because there's always so much dialogue in those games and branching choices and things like that, and the fact that they were able to bring in all the mocap and the high-end writing and voice acting and everything else for a game that takes 130 hours to beat is kind of nuts. So I think that's going to win. I don't think there's much room unless the Keeleys open it up, and maybe they should open it up, because in a year like this, there just is we just got so many great games in the same span of a year. And my guess is people
time ever. They're like, oh wow.
And people on the panel, like, how would they even, even if it's your job, how are you like finding time to play everything that maybe needs to be played?
Yeah. So real quick, before we continue, first and foremost, thanks everybody for being here. Hit the like button if you haven't done so. You will notice on the screen that I've put Sonic footage back on the screen, because I feel like Mr. Everborn Saga isn't here, but because he has shown up, we must play Sonic footage. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Paris Lily, what's going on, Paris? How you doing?
No, I'm doing good, and I promise I won't troll Everborn on this.
I did that just for you. What's going on, man?
What's up, Chris?
I figured I'd just hop in super quick. I won't take too much of your time.
Speak on it. Yes,
just because you were talking about the game of the year and the voting,
let's talk about it. Absolutely.
Yeah, how do y'all balance this year? That's a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. So this is the 4th year, I think, that we get to vote on it, and just the way that we handle it at GTR, it's basically a consensus of what we think the nominations are going to be between the three of us, myself, Danny, and Pete. So because I think, I forget which one of you just said it. You were saying something about there should be a requirement that you play the game and all that.
There should be tighter
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
I do not disagree with that, but how do you regulate that? How do you manage that?
That's
true.
Right.
You would imagine the majority of sites, because I can only speak for ourselves, but we try to be responsible when we nominate something that, we've actually played it. So as an example, like I heard one of you bring up Hogwarts. I have not played Hogwarts, so no, I'm not going to nominate it because I played it.
Shame.
So, but if Danny and Pete, like, as an example, if Danny and Pete played it, which I don't think they have, but let's just say they did for the sake of argument, if both of them had played Hogwarts and they were banging on the table that this should be nominated, then we would have to vote. So it'd be 2 out of 3 would say, yeah, this should be nominated. Then we would submit it as a nomination. This year is going to be crazy. And to another point, one of you made, saying that they should open it up, I disagree on that, because at what point do you cut it off? It just, because now you do 8, someone's going to argue it should be 10, right? So 6 games, I think, makes the most sense in my opinion, and this just happens to be one of those years where no matter what the 6 is going to be, there's going to be an audience that's going to be upset. Their game didn't.
I mean, it's I already know everybody's gonna look at the Game Awards. I mean, you already know, you were prepared for it. If you're gonna look at the Game Awards, weird when Spider-Man 2 gets nominated, all this stuff. I mean, again, there's so much that's dropped, and I think really it's coming down to Metacritic and just how well like an impact, you know what I mean, the game did. Like what Spider-Man did, almost 3 million in his first week, or 2 days, something like that.
Yeah,
It did
2 point something million in the first 24 hours or 20, yeah, something like that. 2 point something million it made, yeah. But yes, no, to your point though, I do feel like you're right that there's no reason to change the way that the setup is now, but we all know that somebody like Jedi Survivor is gonna get snubbed again this year. We know.
Oh,
this,
it's not gonna make anything.
It didn't do as much. Like again, going back to the glitches, Jedi Survivor.
That's the problem. It had glitches, but it also had a great game underneath it. After the glitches,
but you can say the same thing about Spider-Man too. Sometimes
exactly.
It's so many things. Like
I suspect that Paris 2024, or maybe whenever there happens to be a lull and you happen to grab Hogwarts, that first hour you'll be like, damn it, why didn't I play this when it came out?
Oh, I will fully admit, I'll fully admit I'll probably never play it because I'm just not a Harry Potter person. I've never been.
But this is the point. This and I wish Everborn Saga was here. I made him play it because I'm not a Harry Potter. The YA stuff is ridiculous, all that. And then he played it, and then he spent what was it, like 6 months trying not to play it because he wants to, be on his square, but that game calls to you. It is very good. It really is. It is. So I do think that it will get some kind of nomination or some kind of, some kind of spark. Because if it doesn't, much like
a mention,
like it has to be some kind of mention. The game literally sold more than every other game this year. Like, I don't know, man. It deserves something for that.
Can I acknowledge one thing coming from the chat? Because we talked about this last week, so I might as well say it again. Spider-Man 2. Yes, Spider-Man 2 has bugs. Clearly, we've seen that.
Yeah, we were just talking about that, yeah.
When I played it during the review period, minimal. It crashed on me 2 or 3 times while I played it. But other than that, nothing outrageous.
Yeah.
Did you have clipping when you knock out an enemy and like they go phase into a wall? Like you have to like, just like that slow
maybe like once or so, but it was nothing. Like it was just this consistent thing.
It wasn't
like,
consistent,
oh my God.
right? It was just I had that, and the game crashed on me twice. Yeah. I didn't have like the screen glitching out and all that stuff, or dudes on the bicycle, in front of the tree. I'm like, I
was getting clipping in the world. I was getting clipping like when I'm in the open world, especially later in the late game, things happen in the world that changes the world. I'll leave it at that. And after that happened, I would get a lot more clipping. Like you'd be swinging through the city, and there'd be somebody you could get lodged into things out of nowhere. And I found myself, I'm on a balcony, and Spider-Man can't get out of the balcony. He's literally stuck on a New York balcony and can't get out. Little weird, funny, stupid bugs like that.
Oh, you stuck doing the perch? That was
I'm stuck on a balcony perch. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Like I'm flying through, flying through the city, swinging, and then you get stuck on a balcony and you can't get. But it's none of that was, oh my God, this is debilitating. Like those who know, I played a bunch of Horizon Forbidden West, right? That game had bugs, bro. Ooh, I have it documented. I almost lost many hours of my save, but I still loved that game. People call it NyQuil. I will still defend that game. I think Aloy is great, but far less bugs than this one. So I guess my point on that is just pointing out the bug thing, because I'm just seeing your chat saying it shouldn't be nominated for Game of the Year. Why?
They haven't experienced it.
Exactly, and that's kind of the point.
I think about when certain sections happen, certain twists happen, when you play it to that midway point, and the game really just shows you the cards that's on the table and what they're doing for a part 3 or a potential spinoff. It's like all that stuff that you're talking about, these minuscule things that don't happen, or probably some of you probably never happen or never appear or never seen. It's so out the window because you're like, wow, this is really an insane story. It's an insane game. What you got overall, the quality is really, really there in storytelling.
And let's be clear, it's all subjective, because like the Cyberpunk example, some people played it buggy mess all over the place. Other people played it. I played it. I had a T-pose here and there, had a great time with it. So it's not to say that if you have heard people calling it a buggy mess that they're lying, or that we're saying it's over. I bring this question because I want to calibrate exactly how far. Yeah, I want to see how far it actually is really going. But in my experience, and y'all know I play games on everything. I enjoy playing games on it. Funny enough, and actually, I will tell you 1 second. I played 90% of Spider-Man on this. The G Cloud. 90% of the game was played on this.
Okay.
Why? Because I can't sit in the living room busy running around. It's been a busy week for me. So every 5 minutes, I'll jump in here real quick and play a little bit. Had minimal issues right here, right? Remote play, right? This was my test bed for if I should get the portal. After this, I'm like, I don't need the portal. This is a portal enough. It does exactly what the portal would do, right? So 90% of the game was me playing on this. And yeah, me too. I had some bugs here and there, but by and large, honestly, it's not, for me anyway, it's not as ridiculous as it's being, as I've heard, right? But then again, I also haven't seen those crazy bugs in my game that I've seen online. So it's all subjective, you know. But to the point that you guys are making, I think it's a great game. I think if you want to play, if you are a big Marvel or a comic book guy or a superhero guy, this is required reading for you. This is required for you. Yeah. This is amazing. It's so much fun. They know how to tell a story. Very cinematic, very cool. You know, I think anybody that plays it, you'll love it. Unless you're not a Marvel fan or you're not a Spider-Man fan, then maybe that's the case. But this is great. This is great. My only bit of smoke, not even smoke, my only bit of minus on it is, since I played Spider-Man 2018, and then I played the remaster, I'm sorry. Then I played Miles Morales. This version feels like the fourth bite of a really, really good piece of cake, right? Had I played 2018 and then nothing until this one, oh boy, this is an amazing, holy crap, what have they done? This is transcendent. But because I've been part of the journey, it seems like an incremental, definitely
you feel like it's more of a scene, but
yes, it's the fourth piece of that great cake. You know what I'm saying? Rather than, oh wow, what an amazing, you know, that to me is maybe the smallest part of it that makes me go, you know, like to a larger extent, if Resident Evil 4 remake got nominated, I'd be upset. How many times do they need to remake that game and have that nominated, right? Because to me, by and large, that game is still the same, even though it looks amazing, right? This game, Spider-Man, yeah, people will say that mechanics are similar and all of that, but I believe that if you've played it extensively, at least halfway in, the story does warrant it. It really does take it to a better place. I do think it's a higher level, definitely.
I mean, Paris, just say it. Tony Todd. That's all you guys say.
Oh,
Tony Todd.
Absolutely.
that was the best part about this, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Jamal Lee in here with a $2 super chat. He says, until day one co-op with campaign, you cannot call it an S tier. Be real. You know, although I know he's being slanderous, I'll give him a bit of credit on that one, because the way they marketed this game, the way they put this game together, the way that it was put forth, it seems like it, and it's all from us, honestly, because they didn't say it, but it's from us. It's screaming for a co-op. It's screaming for a second player. It really is. And I guess maybe you know, they never said that. They never talked about that. It was never something that they said that they would give you that you didn't get. But I kind of do hear him on it, right? Even the marketing, you know.
And I get PTSD for one particular game. Oh, and that is Gotham Knights.
Sure.
Is a prime example of that sounds good on paper.
Yeah,
in
practice,
it comes down to execution.
Yeah, it didn't work.
To do exactly.
Right.
In practice, it becomes quite difficult to pull off, so it makes it difficult. No, I feel you. But I will say, you know, the way they market that game, when you look at it, it's a shame that it doesn't have a co-op capability. It really is. I wouldn't say it's a missed opportunity, because like you guys are saying, it might be something that probably was there in the works, or they were thinking about, that just didn't like come together. But man, I wish they had co-op there. Okay, let's get some of these super chats off the way, and then we'll get back to it. Mr. Gerald Mack with a $2 super chat. He says the swinging seems a little sluggish in my opinion, depending on which one. So early game swinging is a little different, because to me anyway, from what I can tell, they definitely define Miles differently than Peter. And if you're too much on Peter, it makes Miles seem a little too fast. And if you're too much on Miles, it makes Peter seem kind of slow, right? So it's a little sluggish in the beginning, but keep playing. I'll say keep playing. As the story progresses and you get more of the stuff and you get more of the suits, there are some substantial things in that game. It's really cool. It's really cool.
Yeah,
I think
there's
you'll
one
like
move. It's called the loop thing, where you
Mhm.
like dive and you hang on, and then like he
You
he like gets like he swings, does like crazy
Mhm.
loop, and then just literally launches himself, and you're literally, before you know it, you're halfway across the city, because that's how fast you can get
because
around.
it's really, really fast. Yeah. So, Pragmatic Eagle, $5 super chat. He's here this morning with the hot takes. He's here for slander. Let's go. He says, "Excuse me, panel." He says it with a pinky in the air. "No one cares about bugs," and he says that in all caps. "We as gamers care about hypocrisy. We do not appreciate double standards, period." I think
That's console war. That's console war nonsense. That's console war nonsense. Because why do you care? Seriously, I don't care. If you want to play the game and enjoy the game, go play and enjoy the game. If you don't worry about bugs, why do you care what Polygon, IGN, Kind of Funny, Sacred Symbols, or anyone else or myself has to say about a game? If you are enjoying the game, enjoy the game.
It comes down to this, Paris. You see my hand right here? They want to count how many XYZs on one hand versus the competition for the year. That's just how it is. So they're like, hey, my game hasn't had any glitches, so they'll count that on there. Versus then they'll do the comparison to yours. It's always like this in the gaming.
And by the way, it's a conversation. No slander. You know, we're keeping it PG-13. But you know, some people have other opinions, right? I see Lucius Augustus in the chat saying, "I want integrity in my journalism. That's why I care."
But what was I get again, and I am going to somewhat defend reviewers on the Spider-Man 2 thing because I played it pre-launch, and I'm telling you, when I played it, the bugs were so minimal they weren't worth the discussion. You would think, looking at social media, this is Cyberpunk 2077 in 2020. Exactly. That's what you would think.
Yeah,
I played it start to finish, 100%ed it and platinumed it, and not at any time did I go, man, these are the most outrageous bugs. This is game breaking. Oh my God. That's what I see online. And no, people I'm sure will be upset at me saying this in the chat, and that's fine. But I do think this is overblown. I do. Okay, and I think the score that Spider-Man 2 got was well deserved because it was a great game.
Yeah,
period.
like
just like I thought Starfield, just like I think Starfield's a great game, right? There were bugs in that, but they weren't game breaking. Like, oh my God, this is outrageous. But people would make you think that too. This is the world we're in now. Everything now. When you see a AAA release come from first party, you're gonna see someone nitpick it to death and make it seem worse than it is. Because guess what? Alan Wake 2 has bugs too. So should we start holding reviewers accountable that they didn't point out the bugs in Alan Wake 2? No, everyone seems fine with Alan Wake 2, says it's a great game of the year candidate, but it's third party, so I guess it's okay. This is where we're at. It is so dumb.
Yep.
So dumb.
I've seen a lot of ridiculous takes on it. Like dudes complaining that you can't take a taxi in Spider-Man 2.
I'll say this.
It's not GTA.
This, which is what I've said to Everborn. When you lay with the dogs, you catch the fleas. I try not to lay with them dogs. I like playing my games.
Yep.
I like playing my games. But, you know, this is a forum where all opinions are taken into consideration. Because I will say, right, and I will defend a little bit. I will say those who notice those discrepancies within a games media and all of that, those who notice certain discrepancies, I don't think everyone is console warring. I think console war is a big part of it, no doubt. But I don't think everyone is console warring, right? I speak to people who are in the DMs who are disappointed and this and that, but they keep it to themselves because they don't want to be labeled one way or another. OBM,
well, and I think that, and I think that's the thing, right? Because we can easily conflate, because there is a lot of console.
There's a lot of that,
yeah, and I'm not like you know, and I'm very aware of you know, of the console wars and the narratives and everything like that. I'm not a fan of it. I'm looking forward to the everybody realizing the console wars have been over already for a while. But the fact is that, you know, it just because I'm reading the comments and I'll try to be fair to some of the people that are being genuine. And yes, you can
there is some genuineness there. You know, there is some genuineness regarding like, I think what stands out to people, and I think what's brought some of this backlash, which is what a lot of this is. Like a lot of the stuff you've been seeing online over the last few weeks regarding people, you know, putting videos out for Spider-Man, it's really almost just like
it is a console war like response, I think, but at the
Mhm.
same time is trying to make a point, and I think the reason why is for Starfield, what a lot of people saw was a sort like a negative energy that and and I was actually somebody that fought against this for a long time. I said Starfield's going to get reviewed by basically Bethesda fans. It's probably going to get a pretty good score because of that. I said that's generally what established developers and franchises have that unestablished developers and unestablished IPs don't have, and so it'll probably do pretty well. And like everybody who's anticipating it was going to get a lot of this backlash just because it's, Bethesda or Xbox or whatever. And, Bethesda Bethesda has their own detractors, probably as much, if not more, amongst the gaming media than Microsoft does, right? Because of certain things that have happened over the years, even before the acquisition. Because I talked to, yeah, well, no, I've talked.
Well, just say horse armor and move on.
Well, I've talked to reviewers that think that Bethesda hasn't actually played fairly with a lot of people before that.
Yes,
so that
day one,
I think,
code releases and stuff. Yeah, they've been kind of stuff like that.
They keep track of everything everybody says, and it will come back eventually, right? That's how it was beforehand. So, but even after, because I kept telling her right now, it's just going to be like everything else after the next 30 days after launch. I was like, all right, I was wrong. Because some of the negative energy I saw, and it's not even just reviews. I think people focus too much on the Metacritic stuff, but it was just the clickbait, the negativity around it. Even, I even heard, Paris, I agree with you. Like, this console war stuff is kind of nonsense, and it, people shouldn't tell you like how your food tastes, right? Like, you shouldn't rely on other people to give you that opinion, as Cognito always says. But the thing is, I did feel there was a lot of just this kind of how do you put it? Like people that are, I think that should be above it. We're continuously trying to come back and like yuck other people's yum, like where I've even heard people from established sites, I won't name names, go on podcasts and saying, well, this is not really a good game. The reason why, it's got high engagement is Xbox gamers needed to win. It's like, well, what about the Steam game? What about the Steam gamers, right? Like, what about them? Their engagement's been really high. Like, did they need a win too with Starfield being good? It's like stuff like that. And I think as much as I want to agree that we should just remove ourselves from it, I think people are calling out the fact that the console wars exist now in the mainstream, and they do. They exist in the clickbaits. I said before,
they used to be in the recess halls alone, and now they're in articles. Is what you're saying?
Yeah. Now the stuff that you would have thought would belong to the system warriors is now being kind of maybe tweaked a little bit, maybe just cleaned up a little bit, and it's their articles, and they're from PC Gamer. They're from, I won't go through the list of them, but they come straight from the halls of what you would expect in Twitter Spaces from, the usual characters that they've been console warring for years. And I think, to me, the bias isn't really, and I'll say this, I said this on another show, I don't think the bias is necessarily anti-Xbox. Yeah, there's probably people that have their favorites and stuff. I think the bias is towards whatever's going to get them engagement. And now with what's changing, I think with content creators, the relevancy between like your content creators, your streamers, and your old time media. I think old time media is kind of like learning that, these content creators are coming out of nowhere and they're clickbaiting and they're building giant audiences.
Controversy sells. That's the
way. And we needed to start doing the same thing. And so we got to pick and choose where that fits. And so I think that's the thing. And it's kind of creating this conflating and confusing a lot of stuff, because I think there is a lot of people. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So can I tell you a little story? I tweeted about this at the time when it happened, but I will not name names, but people can put 2 and 2 together and get 4. So I was at an Alan Wake 2 preview event, right? Mm-hmm. And there was a certain YouTuber that was there. A lot of people may know this person. Uh-oh. And we were having a conversation. And during that conversation, this person just straight up admitted, yes, I play up the persona that I need to No, well, not for clout, for engagement. In other words, negativity sales. My audience demands that I'm negative against one platform and positive about the other. Oh, no. So that gets me engagement. And as this person said, that's how I paid the bills. Said it very nonchalantly, and I'm just looking like, damn, you just admitted everything.
Yeah, it's more established on Twitter that you can get paid for it. Like you see, like there's never like any good posts, but when they do put those random good type of posts or lukewarm posts, they don't get hardly a fraction.
Well, and the reason I'm bringing that up is, and this is again, I'm seeing the chat, I see what people are saying. I know people, hypocrisy, integrity, bias, all these things. It's like, I'm part of Kind of Funny, and I'm telling you with a straight face, I love those guys, their family. We try to do it the right way. We're just literally gamers like everybody else, and we're giving our honest opinion about what we think, whether we love something, don't like it, etc. But yeah, there are absolutely bad actors out there that purposely play up this stuff. I almost cursed, but play up this stuff because it's about, getting the clicks, getting the engagement. And that's what takes away where you can have a review about a Spider-Man 2 and you're just giving your genuine, honest opinion on how you feel about it. But because you didn't say X, Y, or Z, because that's what so now all of a sudden you're questioned for your integrity. Are you being genuine? Are you being honest? I see it all the time. And that would probably be the one frustrating thing that I see, where you do have a sector of people who do it the right way, try to do it, but you're lumped in with the people that don't do it the right way, that purposely will try and stir up stuff because because look, negativity gets engagement way quicker than positivity. Absolutely. That's just how it works. 100%.
They done research on that. That absolutely is the truth.
So that's in the influencer, content creator, social media age that we're in. This is what it is. So I could come out and say, hey, I love playing this game and all that. Yeah, you said you liked it, but you didn't point out this because this guy is showing me screenshots of this fuzzy thing. Why didn't you talk about that? And it's just,
hey, I would debate you on it, but it's like, okay, did you play it? Okay, I haven't. That's the other thing that kills me. They haven't played the game, but they act like the bugs that you might have seen, like the 3 or 4 things that go around on Twitter that got retweet oblivion. All of a sudden, it's universal and everybody got it. All that stuff that was shown, like the dude with the bike, and I didn't experience any of this. So it's like,
for most people, that stuff
everybody in that bubble and say that everybody experienced that. They did not experience it. They have their own separate experiences. Not to mention, a lot of us, when we play our games, we play them the right way. We actually just enjoy them. We don't go purposely looking for ways to break them.
But here's the side of this, and I saw this when I had tweeted out about, like Alan Wake 2, like, oh, I loved it, I think it'd be a game of the year contender. And I saw a comment that immediately said, I will not be putting Alan Wake 2 on my game of the year list. And I'm like, well, there's no way in hell that you already played this game. So I was like, well, why are you saying that? Did you play it? No, I didn't play it, but it's not. And I'm just like, see, this is where we're at now. You don't even play a game. And because of the discourse online, you've already made up your mind that this isn't going to be a great game without experiencing it yourself. This is where we are.
So what I will say, right? And again, I'm trying to keep it even, I'm trying to keep it balanced as it were, right? I would contend that, and I know many of the people in our chat here, some of them have been on this train for a long time, right? This idea of keep it a buck, keep the same energy, I want to see people be level-headed in their discourse, and it shouldn't be slanted one way versus another, right? I will once again put out a Pragmatic Eagles $5 super chat. Thank you. He says, excuse me, panel, no one cares about bugs. We as gamers care about hypocrisy. We do not appreciate the double standard, right? And then, of course, Sapporo with a $2 super chat says, Pragmatic Eagle, thank you, well said, right? And then, of course, there is a super chat from the man who always shows support. We always appreciate him being here. Let me pull up his super chat real quick. It is Gerald Mack with a $5 super chat saying, no disrespect to Mr. Lilly. People care because we're all different. Your opinion is truly valid to you, regardless of the silliness of console world. Hashtag Xbox World Order. Yeah, he finished it with that real quick, just to kind of hit you with it, right? What I will say is, I don't think everyone is out there, doing that, because I see that, my man Everborn is dealing with that all the time. He enjoys debating with folks in that realm. I do think there's a genuine sentiment among some of the hardcore, because let's be clear, this is the hardest of hardcore, right? The normals aren't paying attention to this. People.
No, they have no idea.
But it doesn't make it not valid. Just because it's a subset of the base doesn't mean they need to shut up, right? Yes, if you're all about the list wars and which one's better than another one, even Everborn tells me that's fun. People do it. I'm like, cool, but there's a lane for that, and that's not my lane, right? I'm not saying close that lane. I'm just saying let me go to my own lane. Y'all can stay there with yours and have your fun and do your dozens. That's fine. I'm just not necessarily about that, right? But I do see, and I do want to give voice to those who want more integrity in that space, and they see the whether it be console war or clickbait or hey, we'll just say what we need to say in order to get the bills paid. People say that, like people see that, and it irks them, and I get a lot of those DMs. You know what I mean? And not all of them are, hey, ours are better than yours, console war guys, right? So that's why I kind of feel like it deserves a bit of energy. It deserves a bit of conversation, because there are some genuine critique here that needs to be taken in. Maybe we change how we put Metacritic on the pedestal it's on, or whatever. Something needs to be done. The console warriors will always find a way of debating their list wars. But I feel
that's why that
subset,
matters, right? To them.
Everybody runs a Metacritic, but at the same time, don't slander any other outlet.
Well, but I feel like there's a subset of people who don't do that console warrior stuff, who get lumped into it because it's exactly like me, for example. When I first saw Starfield, I said, wow, that's a lot of No Man's Sky. I was lumped in with console warriors for months. Everborn Saga would not leave me alone. I was not trolling or console warring. I was just saying I saw a bunch of stuff in the game, and I see similarities there. But I could not have that conversation during that time, because the moment I opened my mouth, oh, he's warring again, right? People getting lumped in. There might be some validity here that just needs to be. It may be wrong, but it's worth some talk. Go ahead, Paris. You're laughing.
No, I'm trying. I'm just reading your chat. Never, don't mind me.
I know.
It's funny. You can't talk about a game. You can't talk about a bit of news without being lumped into one particular side. Instead of looking at it for what it is, which is an open mind, which I tell people to do all the time. Look at it, open mind. People are leaving or X, Y, Z. That doesn't mean it's over. It means that there's different strategy or something else going to happen. You don't know, but people. Again,
I think
doom and gloom.
I think case you were saying, I think that it comes down to just maybe. I think there's a point where you just accept certain things are not going to go away. Like we're not going to get to a point where people are going to make less money being negative. We're not going to get to a point where it's not going to be the engagement wars. We're not going to get to a point where people are going to become less tribal all of a sudden and try to get approval with opinions or the herd mentalities. Like all that stuff's going to continue to exist. And I think what maybe needs to just change is for the people that are genuine, that really are annoyed by it, again, if it seems like the mainstream or is buying into that, and I think that they are, because they are trying to stay afloat. And really the kids these days, and I talk about the kids, I got kids, and the kids these days don't look at the same things we look at. They don't even play the same games we play. They don't care about Metacritic. They care about what their favorite YouTuber is showing up. They don't know. My kids have never once brought up the score of a game or their friends. Right, Paris? You see.
Do you know how many times? Do you know how many of my content creator friends? I'm talking to you, John Wolf. I'm talking to you, Everborn Saga. All of them, many of them, contacted me and literally spoke to my kids so that they will tell them Mario better than Sonic. That's the only time you'll get
my girlfriend, her son is 19, and I see their friends. None of them look to see what a game got a Metacritic. That is an outdated, I think, way for.
But OBM, although I agree with you, I will say though, for the subset of the subset of the subset of the hardcore small audience, right? Which there are warriors among you. I hear you. I will contend that some of them rightly are pointing out, like as I described, there are many lanes on in these social media and elsewhere, right? There are the console warrior lanes and the other lanes and all of that, and I feel like some of them are seeing some of the lanes converge, and they don't like that, and they're speaking on it.
No,
keep your warrior,
and I get
keep
that.
your console warrior lane there. Keep my game journalism here, and they're noticing that some of the lanes are kind of doing this, and they're pointing it out, and when they do, they get categorized a console warrior. And I feel that's where I'm kind of like,
and I would agree with them. Yeah, and I would actually just give some credence to that, because as somebody that's like, been talking about, that's been part of this or is looking to start a channel here soon. I look at that stuff. I look at the engagement.
Yeah.
I look at the titles. I've been paying a lot more attention to that stuff over the last year, and you can absolutely see the change. And I don't like the change. And it's like, well, I don't want to play that game. I don't want to just go there and put out disingenuous titles or topics just for engagement. If I have to live that life, then I'll just keep doing my job and whatever, because that's not fun to me, right? Just to play that character. But I think we just have to just accept that the ones that are affected by this whole paradigm shift are going to play that game, and maybe we just need to stop worrying about the other people. Like I think maybe that's where Paris, maybe the point you make there is just like that's where we just need to go.
It's time to broaden your base level. It's time to seek out more voices, better voices that maybe don't do what you're accusing these folks of doing.
Yeah, I give it a sports example, right? Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless is someone that I don't listen to, and he purposely pushes up negativity for engagement. I mean, look, he's been leaning on LeBron for like the last 20 years because that's how he makes his money, by being negative towards LeBron, or obviously the Darvin Hamlin thing that he just recently went through, and obviously the stuff with Shannon Sharp. He constantly keeps negative stuff going because that's his shtick. And it's the same thing in the gaming space. You see people that is their shtick to, like, oh my God, I can't think of this content creator's name. It's crazy, but he's one of those who he purposely looked for the agenda, the woke agenda, like, oh, this game is too woke, or feminism. Like, that's his shtick. You know what I mean? I don't pay attention to that. I see it and I roll my eyes and I keep it moving. So when it comes to people, well, the hypocrisy of this person or that person, you don't have to listen to them. Don't engage with them. Don't worry about what they're saying. If you've made up your mind that this is a person I cannot trust or listen to, then don't. I mean, that's literally what I do when it comes to this stuff, because what's the point of worrying about what someone says that you're not going to agree with? There's people in this space I know I don't agree with, so I don't pay attention to their content. Exactly. It's a waste of my time. Well, go ahead. And I just want one last thing on that. Just going, because again, obviously Spider-Man 2 is kind of the hot topic here. So when I review games, my son tends to play them in tandem with me, right? Okay. And we'll have offline conversations about stuff or whatever. Right. So, again, you're right. So Spider-Man 2, as an example, not once did he come to me, Dad, man, this game is buggy as hell. Like, that was never our conversation. Our conversations was about the story, the gameplay. Oh, this cool moment, that, we didn't like the Mary Jane missions, right? Stuff like that. These are the things that we're talking about, and
this for a second. I'm gonna cut you off, but you didn't like all the Mary Jane missions, or did you like them? You didn't like them to a certain extent. You know what I'm talking about, like a certain part. That's all I'm bringing up.
Oh, I'm not a fan, and it's so funny because Brian Intihar was on Kind of Funny, doing the spoiler cast, with the guys, and specifically talked about that they saw the negative feedback towards the Mary Jane missions, but he felt it was important that you didn't just take them out completely. So they modified it, gave it, I don't want to spoil anything, but they augmented it. And
from a gaming perspective, I thought, look, it's if you're gonna give me those missions, give me more agency. I'm fine with it. and it didn't wear out its welcome. It came and it went, and I was okay with that.
Well, his point on it was that was a break from the action of always being Spider-Man. That's why he also talked about the importance of the Peter Harry stuff, right? That was a cool down period. Yeah. So I get it. Look, I may not necessarily be a fan of it, but it wasn't, oh my God, now this is the worst game ever because I got to play as Mary Jane again. I'm like, all right, let me get through this and get back to being Miles.
Get back to Miles. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
I get you.
No, see, that's honest. That's honest. But, you know, to someone who hasn't played it, what are they saying on Twitter, Paris? Oh, that's the worst thing ever.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
you know. But again, that's the lane, right? That's the console war lane, and that's fine. And that's funny. Sometimes I'll sit back and I'll go online, I'll watch the feed, and it's just hilarious. Some of the crazy things people do. Yeah. It's just sometimes when those who are supposed to be above that get into the fray. I know some people complain about that. That's what keeps happening, right? When you expect Walter Cronkite or a person of that ilk not to delve deep into to hit below the belt, which sometimes people see. Right. So,
but you know what? We're not gonna change him. Just like Paris can't change Skip, right? You're not gonna write in and get him to change his ways. So at the end of the day, and we actually do the opposite. We sort of actually reinforce the behaviors, because what we'll do is we'll quote tweet it and go, oh my God, look at this person said.
Yeah.
And
we give it the air it wants, and then it gets more.
And then they get engagement, from everybody, and it's like, oh, look at he got, look at all the people going at him, but that's exactly what that person wants, right? That's how the money works. So so you got to be smarter about it too, though. It does.
So ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, you
no, go ahead. I'm done.
I was just going to once again thank all the 231 people watching right now and ask them to hit the like button, because we're one away from 100 likes, and we'd like to have some more likes before the end of the show. Thank you guys for hitting the subscribe button. We're at 2K subscribers, small channel. Thank you guys so much. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing that. Let us move forward and talk about the Xbox partner preview, because I think it deserves a conversation. We've had some interesting conversations about it. I want to talk about the substance, but I also want to talk about the syntax. Mr. Paris Lilly, I see you have something to say.
Well, I'm gonna exit stage here in a second because Florida State's about to play Wake Forest. That's my agenda for the But I'll just quickly say about the partner preview as I exit out. I thought it was good for what it was. I went in knowing that this would be a smaller show, had no expectations for anything major coming out of this. I think the format of, hey, let's just show the trailers, keep the information simple, keep it moving, 30 minutes on point. Another great way to continue the communication throughout the year, because I think that's been a criticism that I've had of Xbox over the past few years, where I thought in 2021 they did a great job with communication. They kind of fell off, in 2022 was like, let's have more shows. Everything doesn't have to be the big showcase. So now that they're doing the developer directs, you got your big showcase, you got something now like a partner preview. You kind of stagger those throughout the year. Maybe you culminate something here at the end of the year with the Game Awards with an announcement or two. I think that's good. So I thought this was solid. Like I said, it was focused on third party. Yeah, it was great.
We had this conversation on your Twitter space, Paris, what you just said. Literally, I've been having that with PlayStation this year. Yeah, I mean, it's been a very weird year in terms of how they've been going about their announcements and just keeping everybody in the dark. Like, everything we're finding out is through tweets on Twitter, right? But then we have these showcases, which ironically, guess what? Could have just been tweets on Twitter.
Well, I think the truth of the matter with PlayStation is there wasn't a lot of content this year. Like I've said this previously. My one critique for PlayStation right now is I know so little about what's coming in 2020.
Right.
What's the roadmap? Yep. What's the roadmap?
Exactly. That was the big thing.
I just think there's a lack of content. Because again, we don't know, so we're left to assume.
Right now, the wishful thinking.
I don't think Wolverine is next year. So what's coming?
Yeah, I don't think why anybody will put all their eggs into the Wolverine basket for next year. Personally, I wouldn't want it to be 2024. I would want it to be 2025. I want that game to be in the best, the best shape.
Right.
Number one, but number two.
So then what happens in 2024 then? What's the first party big release in 2024?
I don't know.
We don't know, but
Please say Ghosts. Ooh.
we don't even know what Sucker Punch is doing. Like Deviation Games had layoffs. We had obviously Naughty Dog laid off the contractors for factions, so that's on ice right now. We don't know if that's like a 50-50 chance of being canceled, pretty much. That's basically the way they said it. There's no updates on Last of Us 3 because the last time we heard about Last of Us 3, they said it was in the pipeline, but they never started it, so that's not anywhere near ready to go. Ghost of Tsushima 2 is a potential announcement for next year, maybe
release.
But yeah, I don't know. The only game I can say that you could probably have a potential release for it, and that's if you believe completely in Hideo Kojima to get the game ready, and that is Death Stranding 4 or Death Stranding 2. I'm sorry. Yeah, Death Stranding 2. So that's really it. I don't think there's any really else because Helldivers and Final Fantasy. I'm sorry, but Helldivers and Final Fantasy were supposed to be this year, and they're not here.
Well, here's what I think. This is just my theory. I know absolutely nothing. I think for as much as Xbox got held accountable for 2022 not having anything, I think potentially that what might be happening here in 2024 for PlayStation. And this is again repercussions of the pandemic. Not to mention a game like Factions, you know, that should have been out, having to go back, you know, in the lab, rework, canceled, or whatever the case may be. So I do think we may see a gap year from PlayStation where they just simply don't have a lot, have to lean on third-party partnerships versus things coming from their internal studios. Because to your point, to your point about Ghost of Tsushima 2, if Ghost of Tsushima 2 was going to come in 2024, we'd know about it. They'd said it already. You wouldn't hold that announcement into the calendar year. You would have said something this year
and then build it.
Look forward to it.
And I agree completely. As well as like, you know, it just, and again, this is where you getting pushed to that weird side because I talked about the original, you know, like the remake comparison that they charge you $70 for that didn't come with the original Factions. They wanted $70 for it. It was just a repeat of the game. You know what I'm talking about? Last of Us 1. Remake or whatever. I said, you know, like, why doesn't that have Factions? Then you have everybody say nobody cares about Factions, but then these same people are saying Factions 2, they're hyped for Factions 2. It's like, no, should have had that because that would have taken pressure off of Factions 2 and we wouldn't have to worry about a deadline. You know what I'm saying? You could have had that fill in the gap for them. But the thing is, like,
if you say nobody cares about Factions, that means you haven't played it. People really care about Factions because Factions was good.
Care about it. Yeah, that was great. It was there. They needed it. And you know, it sucks that we're in this situation where it potentially, I'm not saying it is, but potentially might not even see the light of day. That's where it's really shocking.
Yeah, I agree. So, Mr. Paris Lily, it seems like you're
exiting. Thanks for joining us.
Good to talk to you as always.
The unofficial fourth chair once again. And of course, the key is always there. If you feel like jumping in, always appreciated. Have a good rest of the day, Mr. Lily.
Yeah, you too. Again, I'll just say this really quick as I leave out. Yeah, I love that you do the show Saturday morning. I always peek in here and you give me the opportunity to hop in here. I truly appreciate it.
Saturday morning cartoons, man.
All right. Have the rest of the show.
You're free on Friday. Love to have you on RGT.
Yeah, DM me.
Got you.
And we are back. So and let me change some names around because you know we're changing things around real quick. But I will ask you first, BitCloud. Did you happen to watch the Xbox game preview? What did you think of it?
This is me you're talking to. I am a gamer.
Of course you watched it.
Through. I watch everything, okay? Even when I'm not doing anything, I'm watching gaming. Was it the greatest thing ever? Not really. I mean, it was more of a reminder of what you got, and that's all I could ask for is communication. That's all I could ask for. I don't want you to be in the dark, me finding out through weird tweets that I'll forget. I like to have a proper track record with you so I know what is coming out, what I can get ready for. You know, our buddies already.
I'm sorry, real quick. I had to just pump the brakes real quick and just give some credit to the chat. Jeremy Brown saying, "Peace out, Vlad Lilly." I'm sorry.
Oh no.
Every time somebody says that, that's just so good. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Let's move.
Good job.
We should have waited until should have done that before he left. Oh,
good job.
That's all right.
But yes.
No, it was cool. It was cool for what it was, a reminder of what to look out for. Again, it's more than what PlayStation has been doing this year. So again, it's more of an ups for Microsoft. They have more releases. They did a lot better this year. Next year, again, questionable for both. what's going to happen. But I'm more questioning the PlayStation side because again, it was this dire this year. We don't know what's coming out in 2024, but it was good. And also, they also got good news with Xbox. You have new strategies going to be implemented.
We'll talk about that as well. Yeah, we'll talk about that
new
as well.
strategies. So it's going to be interesting to see. But overall, I thought it was a solid show. For what it was.
Okay. So I'll tell you, and I'll ask you for your opinion on this as well, OBM. For me, this was Tina Amini coming out and showing what she can do. That's what this was. And for those who don't know, Tina used to run a video for IGN, ran it for a long time. A lot of the stuff you saw was Tina's handiwork. And this here, and we got confirmation of that because after this came out, after the Xbox game preview came out, the official Xbox podcast, the rebranding, the new show came out, and they basically explained all of that. She basically came out and said, look, in all but words, she didn't use the words, but she kind of did, hey, PlayStation, Nintendo does these directs. We wanted to see if we could do a direct. So here you go. This was their direct. That's literally what she said, in all but mentioning of the other platforms. They just wanted a quick 20-minute bang, 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 give you some trailers. If you want to watch want more information, you scan the QR codes and get more details. Otherwise, it's basically just one after another, after another, after another.
Yep. I
was excited by this because I loved the format. Like you guys, like you, BitCloud, I wasn't necessarily a huge fan of all the offerings on display, what was being shown necessarily.
Right. But good pacing can make or break a show, and that's what it was. It's all about pacing.
Exactly.
Was fine.
Exactly.
That's all
right. They showed what they needed to show. They showed gameplay. Obviously, they didn't have so much in the so many bullets in the chamber that they were going to blow people away. But that's not what the show was about. They even said that, we just wanted to keep our audience, updated with what's going on, which means you will expect to see a lot more of this in the future, right? Maybe different games, maybe different formats, but
I mean, they did it with the indies, right? Earlier this year, right? It was something for indies. So I mean, I do believe this is like a new form, which I'm down for if it comes down to, because Sony does it with the state of plays, but they'll cram it all in the state of play, 15 minutes. So I'm all for it personally. It's fine, different ways of going about it. And again, depending on how aggressive they're going to be with this in terms of, deals or whatnot in 2024, we'll find out, obviously, but we'll see.
OBM, how about you, sir? What did you think? To me, the game, you had me with the RoboCop game. I played the demo. They showed me the RoboCop game. Okay. I played the demo. Yeah, there's a 5-hour demo on Steam. Well, there was during the Next Fest. That game is better than it has any right to be, and it's not about the shooting. It's not about the shooting.
Okay.
It's not about the like it's detective work. It's like the person who made this game loves the RoboCop movies as much as I do. Like, I mean, they went real deep on the lore, on the people. He has emotional stakes. There's just so much beyond the I robot and I shoot people. It's quite good. What did you think, sir? You saw the whole thing. For me, RoboCop made it. What did you think of the format? What did you think of the games on offer? What are your thoughts?
Well, I haven't played the RoboCop, but when I looked at that, I assumed it was going to be one of those
mindless,
janky kind of AA games.
It's not a cash grab. It's very good. It's very good.
Really? Okay. Well, maybe I need to.
You have to be a RoboCop fan. Let me be clear. If you're not a RoboCop fan,
you're not going to appreciate.
I watched RoboCop back in the day. I barely remember. I mean, it came out when we were kids.
Oh, kick him out!
Kids.
No,
yes.
Yeah,
kick him out the show. Like, what are you doing?
You
weren't fair to Ed too on that.
But
I would that for $1. Like, come on.
Exactly.
Now.
I was expecting that.
For me, it wasn't as much about the show in a vacuum, but kind of just more like
the format.
What it represents, right? Okay. Now we were like, so the thing I've noticed, well, we and maybe this is getting ahead of things, but like their whole restructure, I think they're redoing. My impression is that they've reinterpreted how they're going, or strategize how they're going to market going forward. And this is just a piece of that. I did think that over the last few like big shows, they've focused on first party, and they're going to need to. They got a lot of first party now.
Oh, yeah.
But they have been missing that third party presence, and I don't want them to completely lose that, because that still is an important part of the platform long term. I like the fact that they got Remedy back on stage, who we know hasn't always spoken fondly of Microsoft in the last few years. It was great to see them on stage, great to see Kojima on stage. It shows that they're really working on these relationships, and maybe what that signifies more than anything. And you just need to call out some of the stuff like that what the hell is that game, that multiplayer game called, the
finals?
The finals. Yes, the finals. Like stuff like that, giving that a stage presence so that you can, create some engagement for your partners on this stuff, especially, your partners that aren't going to be on Game Pass, just giving them some show as well. I still think that's going to be an important balancing act for them going forward. I think it could get to a point where you're so big with your first party that they eat up so much of the mind share and the engagement, which we see actually. If you look on their most played charts, they're like, wait, they own like half these games.
Almost all of them. Yes, absolutely. But to your point, OBM, though, they are very cognizant of that. That's the reason why in other parts of their business, you'll notice that, like, for example, Surface, even though it has the same specs as other laptops, always costs more, because they don't want to upset their partners. They're always cognizant about how they play against their partners so that those partners can live. That's why, to your point, I think we got a partner showcase here, because they, with the news that their first party is even more powerful than it ever has been, it is important for them to message that, yeah, our first party is powerful. We own COD of all things, but we're still here to promote you. So the first thing they do after this news is release a partner preview and show the finals, which, let's be clear, pales in comparison to COD, right? This is them messaging to their partners, hey, we're still here to promote your stuff, right? So I don't know. I think it was a good play. What do you think?
Yeah, no, and the format's good too, right?
Yeah.
And the expectations, they're appropriate for what they showed. It wasn't a bad show. It wasn't a great show either. It wasn't amazing. No, there's a few good games there, interesting things, but I think the expectations were set appropriately. It wasn't like there was a huge hype cycle or they like in the past, they've sometimes gotten into issues where they, oversold what a show was going to be. So this one, I think this would be cool. And if they do things like this quarterly, there's going to be more than enough third-party games to show off, like you're throwing these types of things in throughout the year. And they will fill in the gaps between your first party and in the future. I know you guys were all just talking about PlayStation roadmap. I think one of the areas Microsoft found themselves in a little bit of trouble with this generation is they had to come out super early with the roadmap because of the previous generation too early. I think there's a danger in coming out too early. I think you should, if you're going to have a down year, then just rely on your partners, right? So you got to keep that stuff going, your partner stuff going. Although I don't know that Microsoft's going to really have down years anymore when they own many different things. I don't know,
man,
but
you never know. You
never know. Timing can, there could always be bad timing, right? But no matter what, you need to keep the partners in there, and and so that you don't overexpose your things. You don't have to run your games through 3 shows. And I would actually like to see them bring in some of their partners on their big shows again, so that we really haven't seen that much the last couple years. It's really been just first party focused.
There used to be a world where Alan Wake 2 would be on that big show, right? But this time it was just kind of put to this small show. It was the big one of this show, but it's a known commodity, so it kind of was a little less than, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah. So I mean, because you're gonna bring more people when you have the Call of Duty at your show, right? So maybe you'll be able to bring some more people for your third party stuff as well. So, but overall, I like the fact that we are kind of in this feels like a reboot of Microsoft Gaming / Xbox, and I wouldn't really hold too much. I wouldn't look to the past really to inform the future, I guess is what I would say.
They're starting a
I'm
new
kind of
chapter.
open.
I get
Yeah,
you.
I'd be open-minded for how this is going to go, especially since ABK. ABK is probably, well, they're much better at marketing than Microsoft or Xbox.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep.
They're probably better than any Microsoft, just from a just the corporation overall has always struggled with consumer, like connecting with them, marketing to them, everything. You go back all the way to the Zune, to the mixers, to the, it doesn't matter. Even like they've always struggled.
I'll accept no Zune slander, sir. I still have mine. I love it.
But it comes down to the promotion around it, right?
Yeah.
Like the ability to connect with the average, the non-business to business customers. So
yeah.
I think that they got a new marketing team there. A lot of them they brought from Netflix. They have you got ABK. You have all that institutional knowledge of how to get people to pay for anything. Like, how the hell does ABK get people to buy what we buy from them year after year, regardless of Metacritic, regardless of any of that stuff? People just they buy whatever they sell usually. Yep. So
what? You've already threaded the needle, so let's just keep going in that direction.
Yeah, I set that up.
Let's set that up there. So let's talk about that reorganization. Let's talk about that reorg, because I feel like, and Everborn is not here for me to take my victory lap, but I called this long time ago. I called this the moment that Phil became CEO of Microsoft Gaming, I said, oh, there's a change of foot. And at the time I was told, it's just a reorg, but the other pieces of the puzzle had not been put in place yet. Now they have, right?
Yeah, a lot of it was put on delay.
Yes, it's an interesting world that we find ourselves. Now we find ourselves with Sarah Bond being the president of Xbox, right?
Yep.
Which is not Phil's job, it's Phil's old job, which is what Phil used to do, right? And at the time, people were like, oh, well, no one's replaced them. They didn't backfill. It seems now they need a backfill because beyond Xbox, there's another part of gaming, right? With ABK solidified, right? So I'll start with you, BitCloud. You heard this news. They're moving and shaking all over the place. Yes, the whole Connie Booth thing on the PlayStation side is still out there. I don't want to spend time dwelling on people's misfortunes and stuff.
They don't want to talk about that. They want to talk about 2027.
We have a new reorg here on the Xbox side. It looks like they're putting people in certain positions. We here on this show are big fans of Peaches. Matt Booty, put the Peaches in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Put the Peaches in the chat. He is not to be out to be denied. He now seems, and there's speculation as to where he has fallen in this org chart, because this comes directly from Microsoft. And if the chart directly from Microsoft is to be believed, then it looks like he is above Sarah Bond, but I don't think that's exactly how it works. He is now responsible for content and game content and studios. You have, and I'll leave you to read all the stuff in there. Of course, if you read it from the Microsoft website themselves, you will see the big asterisk real quick for them to say Bobby Kotick until the end of 2023, because they are not trying to let you know he's still there. He's out very soon, but he's in this list too.
That's one of the most exciting things about the acquisition. Number one was Bobby getting the hell out of there.
He's out there. Yes.
Because this puts, hopefully, like, number one, this hopefully leads to a boost in morale, and they can actually turn a lot of that stuff around that's going on within Activision Blizzard. Everything this man did, the stuff he okayed, the stuff he didn't even bat an eyelash to. No, they're gonna probably do what's called, probably gonna go to like a globalization type approach with it, where they're gonna cleanse it. That makes sense. They're gonna cleanse everything, like get rid of those who didn't do their job, those who don't want to quote unquote be there. Get rid of those and push those who do want it.
Excuse me. What?
And hopefully we get some better games out of this in the long run. Games don't feel like they're the same repackaged thing. I'm looking at you, Modern Warfare 3, or Modern Warfare 2, whatever which one they just came out. I'm looking at that compared to the last one. We want quality games out of Activision. Hopefully we get those, and I'm excited to see where the future lies. Now, as far as Game Pass, and a lot of people are like, what about Game Pass? Well, Call of Duty's going to be in there. as we all been talking about for what, months, almost a year now. We've been talking about this straight up, Asante, about Call of Duty being strictly in Game Pass, and that's going to be their poster boy, pushing Game Pass to get into more homes. This is obviously now happening, and of course, you need Phil to oversee this. Not only the quality of this, but make sure everything runs smooth as possible, as it is, and all deals or whatnot go through. As far as third-party deals, I mean, again, that stuff's still going to be there. I'm interested. I'm really interested to see what Sarah Bond's, I guess, overall strategy would be for the company as a whole. I reckon it still be the same what you guys are seeing. You know, cloud-based. You know, moving on mobile or whatnot.
You know what though? You know what though, Bit? I don't know, man.
You know,
see, here's the thing. Here's what makes this interesting to me. Okay, I hear you, because what you're doing there is you're thinking about how Phil has been and what she will fulfill in Phil's stead, right? But Phil was dealing with mobile in a very minimal way, because there's barely any mobile. He was making decisions on cloud because it's a side hustle, basically, right? In the new role that she has, she is solely Xbox. Cloud is not part of her purview. Mobile is not part of her purview. Like, none of that. All she cares about is that box. Even PC is not part of her purview. They have kind of carved out many lanes here. Her lane is straight Xbox, all Xbox, which is crazy to me, right?
That is crazy, because we saw the plans that that were shown at the court case. You know, we know they're going to have a mid-gen type of refresh of the series.
All that will be her purview. She's president of Xbox,
which is positive,
and hardware. Like,
so I'm curious how she handles
that. They needed somebody. They needed somebody in that position that was, especially if you're out here, and you are, listening, and you are an Xbox console customer. What I would argue that that Microsoft's strengths and weaknesses, like in gaming, I kind of mirrored each other a little bit, because it's like one of their strengths is that they're all over the place, so they can buy all these studios and put all this stuff on Game Pass, because you got the PC, you got all this, you got other revenue sources. But the challenge has been, it does dilute you a little bit, right? And I think that you've even heard it from a lot of the enthusiasts in the community. It's like, man, it feels like you don't really even care, about the console. You don't talk about that at all anymore. And so I think putting somebody in charge of that, I think you needed to have somebody that's going to be the face of that, that's going to be in tune with that, that's going to make sure that that particular base, that whatever that it's going to be, 50, 60 million this gen, whatever it ends up being, it could be more, in time. But that base, that you're taking care of them, that you're continuing to show that this is still a key part, and it is still a key part of Microsoft. Like, I've talked in the past before that console is kind of stagnant. All the growth is elsewhere, and that's why they're focusing there. But you can't lose sight of your enthusiasm. You can't lose sight of
your main base. Your main base started on console, and ironically, your main base, majority of them are remaining on console. So you got to make sure that they're taken care of. To branch out.
Your Game Pass engagement all starts there, right? Like
exactly.
You probably, what is it, 75% of it or whatever is off of console.
It's funny because like, on the PlayStation side, you're seeing it as well, them branching out towards it, like bit by bit, so to speak. But one of the things that came out, I don't know if you guys saw it, but Sony was reportedly testing trophies for PC.
Yeah.
And Asati, now you remember this on Boom Show. What did I say? A launcher something will happen where this is going to be streamlined. You're not going to drop a new handheld that serves no purpose like this Portal and not have a long-term goal in mind with this thing and all this stuff going forward, branch it out. There's just too many things, there's too many hints, and people think it's not going to do this. I'm like, listen, they don't care about your console war. They don't care how many times you make ridiculous memes on Twitter. They don't care how many gas giants you think you can walk on. They don't care. They're legit going to do what makes money. And even with Jim Ryan gone, that's the other thing. People fail to realize. They think with Jim Ryan leaving, the plans are going to stop. The board wants this. So whatever the board wants, it's going to happen. And the CEO will have to appeal to the board. Now, the funny thing is, a lot of people are not talking about one big reality here. And the reality is that this new CEO that they're bringing in here might be 5 times more aggressive than Jim was and going in that direction. And that's why I don't even know. You haven't even seen the rollback.
Yep.
And there's a reason why a lot of stuff's on ice, because a lot of things are about to change. And again, people think day and date is not happening. I mean, what happened? What from games being 7 years old, 5 years old, 3 years old, 2 years old, a year old?
It's gonna help the platform.
You're pretty much there. You know what I'm saying? 6 months. If we get to 6 months, 4 months, I think it's safe to say day and date. You're pretty much
think about this. Think about this, BitCloud. Right? You thought Final Fantasy would never hit PlayStation, Xbox. People kept saying that. Then all of a sudden, the CEO changed. Now there are group handshakes of an Xbox getting all the future coming, right? Same scenario. You know, they were beyond reproach. Now PlayStation, for all intents and purposes, is headless. They have no head right now, right? Do you think that when they do finally get ahead, that it's going to be a person that wants to about face or go even further in that direction? I honestly think it's probably even further in that direction. It's about messaging. Ryan did not message correctly, and that's why he got ousted. You know?
Yeah, like Jim Ryan, like I said this before back when he first took out. I'm like, you guys have the perfect PR guy at your disposal. His name is Herman Holtz.
Yeah.
Why isn't Herman Holtz handling your PR announcements, your event? Why is Jim Ryan here? Jim Ryan is not that guy. He's not someone like a Sean Layton who started off nervous when he was first started getting on the screen, but then developed into that dude. Like, hey, you know what?
Jim never developed any charisma.
He never got the charisma. He always said, hey guys, we're going to show you one more game and we're going to get out of here. Mind you, the game that he quote unquote showed was Gran Turismo.
And he was out of touch. That was the thing. Like, I am getting off track a little bit, but that was the one thing before Jim Ryan kind of took over and I guess they ushered Sean out or whatever they did, whatever Jeffy said they did. But you know, before that, they always seemed to be very in tune with what their customer was asking for, what they wanted. They knew how to connect. They knew how to say the right things at the right time. Yep. And then Jim was opposite. He was like that awkward dude.
Just that awkward guy that'd be like in the crowd that you probably walk into. You might shake his head like, "Hey, how you doing?" But then you get like, "Who was that?" You know, I get that vibe from
you don't get out much.
Because you could tell he was like that. You could tell he didn't even game as much because you remember when he was trying to show off the headset. He looked so ridiculous when he was holding the controller.
There's a picture of a controller back upside down. Like the guy does not game. It is what it is.
He was literally like this.
Yeah.
Like, he looks so ridiculous. Like, come on, man. Jim wasn't that guy.
I miss Shuhei Yoshida. That's who I miss. You know,
Shuhei's too laid back, man. Shuhei's like that uncle that everybody loves. He's too laid back. I don't think Shuhei Yoshida wants that position. I think he's he likes to bring people up. He likes to bring people up. That's why he likes to be where he is. Talk about indie developers and then talk about the mid to entry level, and then and then he'll be a hype man. That's what he is. He serves as a hype man for the higher AAA games. He did it for Spider-Man, all that stuff. He'll go to these events and he'll do that. You'll see him at PAX or whatever talking about these smaller games.
He used to be at the higher upper echelon of that until Jim came and Sean got ousted and all of that. You know, I liked where they were when Shuhei was in a more prominent position. And I feel like that is PlayStation Classic that we need to get back to, you know?
Yeah, no, I know. Like Tokyo Game Show, that was an event by itself. You know, like a secret, like a secret gym usually when it comes to PlayStation. Hasn't felt like that for a while, has it, guys? Hasn't felt like that at all.
Absolutely.
So what?
Yeah, go ahead, Obi.
I was gonna like so a couple other like thoughts on it. So like obviously, so the way I look at it, it's almost like, you know, Microsoft gaming is almost. I look at what they've done the last decade a lot similar to how. If any of us here are sports fans, we've seen sports teams, you know, be on the top. We've seen what happens when you got to tear it down, right? Then you go through your transition period, you step back, and then throughout those periods, you have different coaches and leaderships for each of those times, right? Like a lot of times, the team, the coach that's in charge of the teardown is not going to be there when they're contending again, right? And that's just kind of and so I look at a lot of the stuff they did, like, you know, like after they realized that the Xbox One launch, it was not going to go where they had intended it, and they realized that they had to they basically went through a teardown mode. They were like, we're not sure we even want to be in gaming, and they're like, okay, Phil Spencer, we're getting rid of everybody. We're you're going to take over and basically here's the dollar menu. Go try to feed your customers for the next generation. Like basically.
That was a good question for about Pixelbit. If I could answer that for you.
Oh yeah. I see Pixelbit
you see
in
it?
the chat. Yep.
So he said,
Let me
do you
put it
think
on the
they'll
chat. Let me put it up here.
reprioritize? He said, do you think they'll reprioritize
the
their
shows again? Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm gonna tell you flat out.
I
To be
hope
honest
so.
with you, I hope so. That's a hope.
Yeah.
That's a hopeful thing, right?
They
But
better.
right now, it's a 50-50 chance that you probably still going to see the same thing you're seeing right now. The reason why people are so gullible on the internet, like all the people who got all this mouth for Xbox, like everything is bad. You notice these dudes act like hype men regardless, right? And they give passes. And this leads to others giving passes, and they'll let stuff slide. So abysmal shows don't get the criticism that they deserve, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And I feel like low key, just by the way people have been put like conditioned. Granted, I've been seeing this on YouTube where I see like, you know, like they'll dislike a video into oblivion. I've been seeing people be voice their opinions like that, but I haven't seen that much in terms of how they've been reacting toward on Twitter, if that makes sense. I feel like Twitter is a lot more impactful than what you guys do on YouTube, because again, that's you hitting the dislikes, not really gonna do anything. That's just
But when you speak ill on Twitter, people hear you.
Yeah,
and there's not as much talk on that. I do see that people are too busy in their camps warring to actually focus on, hey, y'all should do
what's
this
happening
better.
in your account. Yeah, like what's happening in your account. And I said this multiple times, like, you know, Sony just upped the price of PS Plus and all their tiers, you know, not by no fraction. I'm talking about a good chunk. You know, it went from 60
thank you,
to
sir.
What?
Let us move to that story, because we were talking about that, and we're going to talk about that as well before we get out of here. And Sony upgraded their pricing 35%, and now they're trying to justify it. Please continue.
Yeah, no, like I think it's what, $80 for a basic plan. It's like $80 for a basic plan, which just allows you to talk, or not really talk, but to play games with your friends. So if you guys want to play a fighting game, like ironically and strategically, if you guys know this, Tekken 8, it comes out in January. Yeah, you remember that? Remember that fighting games? So you guys want to play fighting games with your friends, you know, your homies. It's $80 just to do that. Then it's $130 or $120, something like that, for the Essentials tier, which, by the way, the dudes claim was the best deal in Game, better than Game Pass, even though Game Pass is significantly cheaper, offers 5 times more features, and offers a lot more on the table. But I digress. And then we get into the Ultimate, which still doesn't have an option for a native way for you to play legacy old titles. I'm talking PlayStation 3. I'm not talking about PS2 or PS4. We're talking PS3. There's
PS3
no way for you
there's no way to do it.
Play. Exactly. You have to stream them. Now, you guys remember on PC, wasn't there an emulator already being made, or has already been made and is actually blown up in popularity, where the dudes made this in their basement at a fraction of a cost, and they're playing
PS3 on this guy all the time, because it's, you know, emulators all over the place. It is what
I'm saying. It's like we have options already available. You would think Sony would invest into something like that, get a team going.
There you go.
There you go. Nothing like that in motion. But of course, you know, people find ways to justify it. Oh, they're giving us quality games. Okay, well, 2023 would like to have a word with you. We only got one quality game.
2024 might also like to have a word with you.
2024 is also looking at you spooky. I'm not giving 2024 a pass because of 2 games, which, by the way, we're supposed to be this year. That's where it's funny to me. The deflection. You know what I'm saying? The deflection. Oh, well, we're getting this. No, you're not getting this because of that. You're getting this because they don't have nothing for you for XY year. That's why. That's why. There's a reason why they had placeholders. You notice how they didn't really give you a specific date for Helldivers this whole year? It was like placeholders.
That's true.
It's coming soon. Then it said November possibly, and then you didn't hear nothing. Then okay, it's next year. No, they had nothing this entire year. And with layoffs happening left and right, layoffs happening left and right. You got CEOs that's been there for 30 plus years leaving the company. It's like, it's hard to sit here and look at this with a straight face and be like, yeah, everything is all fine and dandy, because the problem is it's not. There's a lot of things that people need to look at and stop focusing on minuscule things to try to argue a console war. Yeah, this console war stuff was cool when we were kids, but the funny thing is, most people who do this console war bull are in their 40s, they're in their 50s doing this. This thing called a life.
It ain't a child's game no more. It's an old man.
It really is. It really
is.
If you got a mortgage, listen, if you got kids, you got a mortgage, you got a job, all this stuff, and you're out here console warring, you might want to look at yourself in the mirror. You seriously don't look in the mirror. It's not even
Cloud
funny.
Gaming on GCP speaking truth over here.
Don't listen. It was fun. It was fun while it was, but now it's got to the extremes where dudes just don't make any sense. Complaining about walking on gas in a space game, complaining about taxis not being accessible in a Spider-Man game. It's like, bro, what are we doing here? It's gaming. They're video games. I don't care if you like Xbox, PlayStation, or PC. At the end of the day, a video game should just be what it is, a video game. If you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But you know what's funny? If you don't like it, you don't have to tell me or project it everywhere you go. I don't care. I'm going to enjoy my experience. See what I'm saying? I don't want my experience to be interrupted by stupidity. That's the on the internet. That makes sense. I don't like that.
Yep. No, I hear you. I agree with you. And by and large, if some time was spent, putting foot to ass, as it were, on Sony and being like, hey, this is not what we want, you probably wouldn't be paying, $120 something for cloud saves. It's because we need to redirect our energy there and say, hey guys, this is not it. This is not hot, right? And until that happens, expect more and more and more egregious behavior. I don't disagree. BitCloud here speaking absolute facts. OBM, what are your thoughts, sir? It looks like they're justifying price increases. For me, I still contend that we're very, very, very close to day and date. They won't say it until it happens. We're close to day and date, right? They're increasing the prices ridiculously, and they're trying to justify it. What are your thoughts, sir?
Well, I guess I could go either way on this, and the reason why is because we don't know what the new leadership's going to do.
Exactly.
Jim's no longer in charge, so all these things that could have been in plan for a few years, like, hey, we're going to take these steps every year towards this direction or that, could all change overnight. We see that all the time. I mean, we were just talking about the Xbox stuff, and we've seen their plans change overnight for multiple ways, whether it was like VR or just even as we delved into the documents, you see a lot of stuff gets discussed, right? Like, and you can have a strategy one day and it's not the same. And that's with similar people at the top. So I think with new people at the top, I think I don't know what to expect right now with PlayStation. I hope they get into the subscription war. I think
said charge them more.
Well, no, I hope they get into the subscription wars, like day one.
Lucius at this rate, the way these dudes act, bro, and
that's the thing.
They can get away with charging you $100 just to play with your friends.
Well, this is the thing. Myself and Everbone have been talking about that multiple times. I'm like, what is the number that they need to hit for them people to look around and go, okay, we done messed up now. We done gotten too far, right? So charge them more until we hit that number.
There isn't going to be a number.
Don't
cry about it. Oh, sorry. But there isn't really no number, to be honest with you. I can answer that for both of you. There ain't going to be no number. I'll tell you why. Most of these people who you see do this stuff on Twitter, YouTube, etc., have built a following off of what Jaspera said earlier, hate. Okay? That's all they build their channels off of, hate. So hate for the opposite side. Do you really think they're going to crumble that quote-unquote house of hate that they built just by being honest with their consumers? No, of course not. Nobody is going to do that. They're going to go right to moving the goalposts, and they'll say something stupid like, well, at least Sony's first-party games are better than Xbox, or at least Sony's first-party games are better than PC. At least their games run better or load better than PC, even though
people don't
a different spectrum, but we're not going to talk about that. They get a little look at Santi. You already know they get a little too loud with that conversation. I ain't gonna do it.
People are tribal and stuff like that, and they are going to stay loyal to ecosystems, especially in the digital age.
Yeah.
So I don't, but the thing is, and what I'm hoping, like, new Sony leadership does pivot more towards PC, does pivot more towards trying to build a subscription, because that stuff is a little bit less. I won't say it's less sticky, because subscriptions, people subscribe to them, they don't usually leave them. But, if you're trying to grow that stuff, if you're trying to grow new avenues, you have to be more aggressive. You have to be more competitive. You have to be aware what your competitor's doing. In terms of the console, the traditional console space and everything there, they don't think they have to compete. And they're probably right, because if you look at the Apple customer, if you look at any customer in these digital ecosystems where you build up content, you build up just I don't know, muscle memory in terms of how to interact with it. I played my first game on the Epic Store ever yesterday with the Alan Wake because I wanted to see I wanted to see the path tracing, and I'm like, man, this just feels bad being in this ecosystem.
Stop.
Even when the
that's being petty. Now he deserves to be hated.
Even when the achievements pop, I'm like, that doesn't sound right.
See, now you sound like John Wolf. I call it we call it the missionary launcher. Yeah, it's all about missionary gaming. Stop it. A launcher is a launcher is a launcher. Cut it out, people. Just cut.
I was like, man, this whole thing this doesn't feel right. Launching. But anyways, but that is a human nature thing, right? And I think Sony understands that with the PlayStation. There's probably a floor. I don't know what that floor is. Maybe it's 80 million or something like that. That no matter what they ever did, no matter where they raise the prices, no matter what they do with first party,
they would always stand behind them.
There's always going to be that group that this is just where I go to play games. It is my muscle memory. I do have my trophies. I like this controller. I don't know how to do the offset. I can't go the other way, by the way. Like offset thumbstick.
See,
when I called
him out and he showed up. John Wolf. He showed up. I called him out about your launcher BS. And he showed it up in the chat. My bad. Apologies. Please continue.
Oh man.
I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead. You were saying. Yeah.
But yeah, like I don't right now they don't have to compete on the PlayStation, and that has nothing to do with I don't know that there really is a lot. Microsoft is going to do some things here, and I think they will draw more customers. But the 80 million or whatever Sony has.
You don't see a world where that armor, if you will, of loyal PlayStation fans that will do whatever PlayStation wants. There's a loyal die-in-the-wood fan base, a small amount, but there are there. You don't see that ever happening on the Xbox side with all of this stuff that they're mounting?
Well, it could. I'm a Game Pass, fanboy, I guess you could say. That. I don't want to see that ever go away, and I'm always going to lean towards the, I'm pretty comfortable in that ecosystem, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's a thing whether people want to admit it or not. It's across the board. It's with most people. We get comfortable with stuff, and then people's identities are kind of they build them into their phones and whatever devices and ecosystems that they're in. So, but that's why I want to see a change. I want to see leadership go. You know what? Rather than just staying our ground and trying to pull a Nintendo, which I don't think they can. I think Nintendo is a different beast. We need to grow, so we're gonna have to go into PC, and we're gonna have to start doing different things, because when they start doing that, then they're gonna. Right now, the reason why they can raise the price of PS Plus is because it doesn't compete with Game Pass at all. Now, if they go to PC and they want to grow and be on everything someday, then which I assume they're going to want to, because that's where technology is taking us. Then they will have to compete with that, and they will have to be held in check with those prices, both with their, with everything in their ecosystem. So I don't know. I'm rambling a lot. I don't even know if I answered the question. But I guess to answer your question, I don't know what's going to happen, and I think we're going to have to wait and see now, because you have to give. It's going to be a new leadership team. It could be worse. It could be better. We just have to wait and see what this team, what their vision is. We have no idea anymore.
Yeah, I'm interested to see, because I have no denying. There's no doubt that PlayStation is about that, right? And they're not to be denied, and they're going to be all right, right? It's going to be good, because they've gotten here on the back of that, right? But it'll be interesting to see how they change, because they've never had such competition before. They've never had such opposition, right? So I'm looking forward to seeing how they really, really adapt.
And the competition is different. So and that is the thing. I think people keep missing this. We keep always going back, and I see the Twitter conversations. It continues to go back to the console war. The competition it's not even just pushed by Microsoft. It's pushed by changes in technology, in the way, new consumers. We talked about that a little bit with Paris. They're different, man. They're different than we graybeards are. And eventually, and really they're going to be the target demographic in, over the next, 5-10 years or whatever. That becomes the focus. And I don't know that Sony today is positioned, them becoming becoming less aggressive or just complacent, is that would be very dangerous for them, especially with kind of where the market's going to change. Yeah, they can hold on to that base and still make some money, but you know how public companies are, that if you're not growing, you're then that's bad. Like, you have to grow. That's just the way it is, right? So they can't just try to hold on to an old thing and hope to be a healthy company. So I guess we'll wait and see what happens, though.
Absolutely. No, I agree with you on that as well. It's an interesting time to see what PlayStation will do. I for one, I'm not dusting my PlayStation away because it's over now. I think they'll be fine. I'm just interested to see how they twist it, because they will at some point. 2024 will not come and end without them doing nothing. That'd be crazy. They have not gotten where they are making such unforced errors. So I expect to see some interesting things from them.
Yeah, and that'll be interesting too, because I know they talked a lot about partners, and does that mean money hats? Like money hats are going to be more and more difficult to do outside of like the AA. Like I think AA. Now
you're starting to see why I'm so excited, because they can't money hat Microsoft like they used to. Right?
No, you can't.
And 2024 is coming, and like you guys have already said, there's probably no Ghost of Tsushima. Probably Wolverine is in 2025 or something like that. So how do you thread that needle? How do you money hat to the point where people are still satiated by your PlayStation exclusives, but not so much so that it breaks the bank? Because it will have to break the bank now, right? It would have to break the bank in order for it to matter. And they don't have first parties like they used to. They probably will soon enough, but right now they don't have it, at least not for 2024 or the rest of this year. So to me, they are the leaders for a reason. I'll be super interested to see how they prove their leadership once again. You know what I mean? Because they've done that before. They've before.
Yeah, I mean, I expect them to still be around and figure out a thing. I mean, they got a lot of. They have, like I said, they have a high floor still, but they still got to grow. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens, what they do with that.
So last topic before we get out of here, and hopefully BitCloud joins us before we drop. I'm trying to keep it more concise. We're not doing a 4-hour podcast this time, sir.
Yeah, I was like, I had so much more to say on some of these things.
Everyone, Bloviator's not here. We're not doing 4 hours, ladies and gentlemen. Nope.
I can feel it. I could feel it. It's like, oh man, I had another hour on that other topic.
We're doing it. We're being concise. I'm gonna have my Saturday today. It's gonna be amazing.
All right. I got something just like, where? Call me back. What's
there?
You
go. But before we
I gotta hurry.
I must ask. Game of the Year 2023. We've been talking about it all day. We've been talking about it in certain shapes and forms, right? We had the man personally join us, and he gave us his intelligent takes, and he's part of that decision-making process. So we appreciate him for giving us his opinions on it. And this is specifically the Keeleys, right? I bring it up because this is a very, very contentious year. There are very big lists going around, very huge games going around. I'm sure if I were to ask the chat right now, hey guys, give me your 5 games of the year, you may find a list that's not the same across the board. There are many huge generational games, but they're still making it like a small amount. So I guess my question to you, OBM, looking at this list, and I have to grab one of the lists from the net. I see a couple games here. Dead Space remake, that would be funny to me. Right?
That won't make it. It was a great game, but
exactly. Hogwarts, there are lots of look, all these games. These are the games that I think won't make it. What do you think are the games that will be on that Game of the Year this year?
Oh, well, I guess this should be easy because I already sort of mentioned it earlier. But I think the shoo-ins are going to be the Nintendo games because they just have this super passionate base. Zelda, Mario will both be there. Baldur's Gate 3.
Mario and Zelda will be there.
Yeah, I think both will be there.
Okay.
I bought Mario. I haven't had a chance to play it yet.
You haven't even played Mario. Okay.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Play Mario, I'm just going. Talk to me after you're done, sir. Yes. Okay.
You're asking me what I think other people are, and I'm just going by who's going to get nominated, and that's going to be based off of everybody else. So I think those two will be there based on what everybody's saying. Mario brought back basically their all-star cast for that game. And then we know what the feedback for Zelda was. Baldur's Gate 3, like I said, I think that's going to win Game of the Year. I would actually bet money on it. I think
Really?
I think it's in its own unique spot. And even though that's a niche genre, I think that there was almost no pushback on that at all. And so I think even people that did not play it are probably going to vote for it. That goes back to the integrity thing. But I think that just because of the fact that it had so much such a positive reception without really the other side of it, the pushback, which, I think that people are just are assuming that it's a shoo-in at this point in time. And I assume it is too, because I didn't, you just didn't hear anybody kind of come back and push back on it. So those ones, I think Spider-Man would be in there, just based on the overall reception. I haven't played that one either. And Alan Wake sounds like another one. In Alan Wake, if it stays where, like, I've only played a few hours, like I said early in the show, but it is unique, and it does
the way they do the storytelling and all of this. It's unique.
It's different.
Yeah.
It's different without betraying the
original
core
source
audience.
material. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it absolutely hits in everything in production values, detail. It does a different way of making you explore the world with this detective stuff, which is, to me, is ingenious. It's like it's a game design decision that forces you to really right off the bat, and this is why I think it's pretty brilliant. Like right off the bat, I'm only a few hours into the game, and have hardly got to any action or anything like that. Just a little bit. I won't say anything else, but right away, because of the way that they make these mechanics where it's like you really have to start paying. They tell you really have to start paying attention to the details of this world. Like, and it's not like they're making these puzzles and things like that hard, or like the detective stuff hard, but it's just telling you it really sort of forces you to really pay attention to the details. And even if you didn't pay attention, they call them out, right? And so it starts to like layer on all this the people in this world, and start to ask questions. And that's I think the most brilliant thing they do is they kind of force you to ask questions. That's how the whole detective thing works. But it's like, it's a thing that doesn't require you to be like, you could still be a mainstream Joe Schmo or whatever gamer and still play this. It's not asking you to like be an expert puzzle solver or anything like that. But because of the way they do it, you're going to start asking questions. You're going to be, oh yeah, what is the next thing in this this board here, that case study or whatever. So I'm going to throw Alan Wake in there for initial impressions. I think it's going to be unique in some of the ways it delivers story, and then the sixth spot, I want it. My personal game of the year is Starfield still. I don't think it's going to make it though. I think that just all the month of negativity. I think some of it started as engagement fishing, but it sort of grew into the reality, if it makes any sense. What started off as like, oh, hey, we can get a lot of clicks if we become really negative here. And what started off as really positive reviews turned into, I think, an energy around it, which almost became a self-fulfilling prophecy. Where now people that are like, they beat it and they loved it, they're like, oh yeah, maybe it wasn't that good. And it's like I'm even hearing people mainstream that are genuine, like I don't think they are clickbait. They're like, well, maybe it wasn't really that good. I loved it week one. I loved it after the review period.
But after everybody's been beaten up on me about it, maybe I'll rethink my position.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I think it won't be in that mix. I still think it's going to hold up well over time, and we'll look back, and especially after DLCs and stuff. So I don't know who's going to get that sixth spot, because I don't know if there is a that's maybe where it has a shot for me. My favorite game has a shot because there isn't an obvious one there, because I don't know that an RE4 remake deserves to be there in a year like this.
And
I don't know that any remakes deserve. Yep.
You put that in you talked about the remake, so I have to ask. I put it in the chat. I said, should remakes win game of the year? Put a poll out. I got yes, I got no, and I got hell no. And obviously I'm in the hell no camp, because that to me is a Travis democracy of epic proportions. Get some new ideas, people. That's neither here nor there. Cast your vote. What do you think? Do game of the year games
on the game for me? Like if it's Dino Crisis and it's done proper and it brings the horror back, like
well, but that's different. That's a game
that's a remake though.
Well, because that's a game that
it's almost like a
heard
reboot.
of a long time ago. New audiences are hearing it. When I say, let me tell you how self-serving I'm being.
You should have reboot. First, I think you should have reboot.
Well, no, I'm saying remake, not reboot, because what you're talking about is a reboot.
Or
what I'm talking
reimagining,
about is a remake,
right?
because what we're talking about here is, for example, this list that has with this is
like Resident Evil 4
remake. That is an insult to any game if this thing is even on the list, especially in this year. As great as Resident Evil 4 remake is, and it is, but it's like the 5th remake or something.
Oh wait, until you get to 2025 or maybe 4, you'll see it again with Resident Evil 5
with another remake. Exactly, right? So me personally, I'm like, hell no, please no, don't do that. That's insulting to all these other guys with new ideas, to you regurgitating it over and over. Now, Dino Crisis, no one's seen or heard from Dino Crisis since the 90s or when the last time it
Funny thing is, I don't think a good chunk of the chat even know
what it is.
Dino Crisis is or what it is.
It would have to be completely reimagined. You couldn't remake that game. You'd have to completely reimagine.
It has to be reimagined. There was a lot of elements that needs to be re-tingled in there.
Like RE's a little bit different in that like the old gameplay mechanics still work today because it is a survival horror. You know, like I don't know that a Dino Crisis, like what game design elements,
even if it's good, even if Dino Crisis' style still holds, if Resident Evil 4's gameplay and all that hold up today, how many times has it been put in front of judges? How many times? Enough already.
Give me Dino Crisis with Dead Space's engine. I'm all in.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. THX 1138 with a $2 super chat. He says Sony took every PlayStation Plus subscribers to lower tier 3. Yes, they did.
Yep.
Yes, they did. And then they increased the price.
And then the funny thing is, you got those same people who went and got demoted, still champion, acting like it's not that big deal. Well, I'll let it slide because Spider-Man was good, but no. See, when you let that slide, you already set yourself up for the inevitable $100 a year for a basic tier.
So what do you think, BitCloud? I just got his take on it. I got OBM's take on it. I'm just scouring the web right now between like this site that I found I personally call it the Keeleys. I don't call it the Game Awards because everyone has their own opinions and blah 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 blah. But for the purposes of this conversation, it's the Keeleys, right? I see Dead Space remake out there. I see, Hogwarts. We talked about Hogwarts. Resident Evil. I hope not. Dredge, which I've heard nobody talk about it. This game is indie game of the year. It really is.
I've heard really good things about it.
It is so good. It's been out since March 30th. It's on everything, right? PC, console, old, last gen, this gen.
It's a really good indie.
Good. Dredge the Diver.
That's the other one.
Yes. Yeah. Super good. Then you have Jedi Survivor, the one that will get snubbed.
That's snubbed.
The one that's getting snubbed.
The last one got snubbed. This is gonna get snubbed.
Tears of the Kingdom. The other one that I think will get snubbed in favor of Mario Wonder.
I don't know, because just because of Keely's relationship with Nintendo, I don't think he would allow it.
Mario Wonder, though? Have you played Mario Wonder?
Yes, that's another one too.
But see, that's the thing. I think because Tears of the Kingdom is a known commodity, it is basically Tears of the Kingdom is to Breath of the Wild as Spider-Man 1 is to 2, right? It's more of the same, but way more blown out.
Refined,
give you a lot
like a little
refined.
bit more refined.
That's right.
Yeah.
A lot more. So these are known commodities that they're giving you bigger, better, badder versions of. But Mario Wonder is a whole new thing, whole cloth, amazing art style, animation, everything. I think that in a year that it's so contentious and so hot button and there's so many potential snubs, they won't give you two Nintendos. They'll have to give you one versus the other. And I think in that battle, Wonder wins.
I'll take the bet.
Okay. Okay. We got knee bets going on everywhere. All right. I say, in the world where Tears of the Kingdom exists on that list, you will lose Wonder or vice versa. One of them will be there because this year requires it, right? You have Baldur's Gate 3, you have Starfield, you have Sea of Stars, which came out of nowhere and everybody says it has to be on the Game of the Year. You have Armored Core, which everybody says has to be on the Game of the Year, right? Spider-Man 2, obviously. What's the other one? Remnant from the Ashes 2. Like, there's just so many of them. You can't have two Nintendo representatives. You need one. So which one's it going to be? I think it's going to be Wonder. Big Cloud, what's your list? What do you think, sir?
It might go about what's been on the market, but we have seen that multiple times where a game has barely been out for long, make it to whatever. So
yeah, recency
we
bias.
have seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have seen that. So he might go with the flow and go with Mario over Zelda. It's a potential, but I don't know. He's a big Zelda
Alan
fan.
Wake 2, that's definitely on the list. Alan Wake 2, 100% is on the list.
You would hope. You would hope.
The crazy madness I'm hearing it. Well, it's not even that I would hope. I would bet that Alan Wake 2 is on the list because as the Keeleys does, they're very much focused on cinematics, and this game is the most cinematic I've ever seen.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
They're very much focused on games that are like movies, and Alan Wake 2 is a movie through and through. So I think that's a sure bet that that's on the list, right?
Yep.
But I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a very interesting place we find ourselves. So, all right, Big Cloud, give me your 6.
You get snubbed, or this thing is gonna make it.
The 6 that will be in the list. Give me your 6.
Jedi Survivor is not making it. I don't see it. I can see Dredge probably being there because it's being an indie title. A lot of people might not like remakes, but I think RE4 is gonna take one spot.
Okay, so you got 3 right now. Yeah, keep going.
And we go down. I would say it's a toss-up between Mario and Zelda. It's a toss-up. Hogwarts Legacy, I could see get snubbed. I don't think just to avoid all the politics side of things.
So there's 4 there, and you're hedging the bets between Zelda and Mario. So there's 4. You got 2 more.
And what were the other ones? What was it? Dead Space. So Dead Space, I don't think it's gonna make Game of the Year. I don't think Dead Space made enough weight.
Any games you think at all. You know, it doesn't have to be what's on this list. It can be.
It doesn't be on this list for Game of the Year. Okay.
Game of the Year. Whatever you think. Yeah.
Spider-Man 2 is definitely gonna take a spot.
So
I can understand
5.
that takes
all right.
Because not only that because of Jeff playing it, but he's a big Spider-Man fan.
He's a big Spider-Man fan. Very cinematic. Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
I can see him throwing that in there. And if I was a betting man, just for the fact that this game literally surprised not just me but everybody, if we're talking about sleeper hits just out of left field that no one saw coming, Alan Wake. I would throw Alan Wake into the mix.
Okay, so there's his list. That means in his list you have snubbed Starfield, you have snubbed Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh, I forgot about Baldur's Gate.
You see what I'm saying? It's a contentious list, sir.
It's a contentious list.
Baldur's Gate 3.
Baldur's Gate. I forgot about Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate,
I'll take everybody's A's if they
Resident Evil 4 off right now. Baldur's Gate. I forgot about Baldur's Gate. There was so many good games. There's so many good games that dropped this year. It's so hard to trap. But yeah, Baldur's Gate, I forgot, was the one that launched. Out of all the games that's launched this year, that is the perfect launch. It had no issues. It was a complete game. It was critically acclaimed.
That's not the case because because like Act 3 is garbage and it's broken, but nobody gets that
is it?
far.
Oh,
Nobody gets that far, so they're like, it's
I don't know. I'm
going.
talking about what was originally stated.
That is always an interesting
Yes.
thing, yeah. And I've even heard from friends that were
Act
huge
3 is
Larian
broken from a
fans.
performance perspective, and it's just not right.
And
Not
also
right.
balancing perspective, it needs to be rebalanced. Like I had a
Mhm.
friend that said I stopped playing them and wanted to stop playing it until it got
Until it was
like
fixed.
they tweak the balancing in it because it the game starts off really hard, then it gets really easy. So and he said it actually get his opinion, and he actually thinks that Divinity Original Sin is his favorite game of all time.
There you go.
He said that this doesn't pales in comparison once you get towards the end of the game. So yeah, it is interesting. It is interesting how like nobody got far enough to like do that.
No one got far enough to see the problems.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
game of the year.
But it's still a win game of the year.
But it's probably gonna win. You know? All right. So OBM, I didn't ask you for yours. Give me your 6.
Oh, I think I named 5 that'll be there for sure.
Yeah, give me one last one.
Like
Tough.
oh wait, did it
Like tough list.
So I guess if they do snub Starfield, I think they're gonna, which I think they're going to. I think they'll probably put another indie in there. So maybe it'll be Sea of Stars. That seems to be the one. That seems to be the darling amongst the mainstream. I haven't played it yet. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that seems to be the darling. So I'm gonna say that if I had to put money on it and not vote with what I want, but what I think is going to be there, we'll recap it. It's going to be both Nintendo games, Baldur's Gate 3, Spider-Man, Alan Wake, and Sea of Stars.
Okay.
And I think BG3 will win it.
You think BG3 will win it? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, all right. So the man Heart Geek Chani, he's in the chat. What's going on, sir? He says Mario, Zelda, unfortunately BG3 because he really hated BG3. Super Mario, what was it? SM2? SM2. What is SM2?
SM2 is
SM2. Come on.
Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2. Duh. Spider-Man 2. Xenoblade Chronicles or Hi-Fi Rush. Dave the Diver or Cocoon. See, Cocoon. Why would Cocoon should be on that list? Because it is also very Game of the Year caliber, that game.
Yeah, I'm playing it right now. It does feel like it deserves to be in that. I just haven't heard enough. It doesn't seem like it's had enough engagement or mindshare or whatever, because I don't see people talking about it at all. Like where I've heard people talk about.
And even on this panel, where everybody's made their list, and we've had a great conversation. We're almost at the end of the episode. What we have not added to our list when I asked for the list, nobody put Lies of P.
Well, that's mine. That's on my personal.
That's high up, but it's like you gotta look at just.
I just know how many people who I know who played this who go,
those.
yo, this is Game of the Year. People beat it like 3-4 times. It's not on anyone's list.
It might be a sleeper.
It's sleeper, but
it is a sleeper.
Hypothetically, it might. I know just too much. It might honestly, like if most of these games did drop, you would see it hands down be on there, and it'd be like a Sekiro situation. But the thing is, though, this game is going to be unfortunately put in those honorable mentions. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. You're going to see.
I hope it gets there for something like art style or whatever. But
they'll get away with it somehow, though. They'll put in another category where it's just sure in the win. Like, you know what I mean? Like best Souls-like game, best something like that. Like they'll do something like that. I can see
new
that.
category, best Souls-like.
They'll do that. Like no, they do that. They legit try to make
they invent new ones.
They'll throw categories in there.
There would be something.
See, Wolong. I see people. There are so many on the damn list right now. It's just nuts. How are they going to make? I'm looking forward to the end of the year conversation because it's going to be a battle no matter what makes the list. They're snubbing people left and right. It's going to be hilarious.
Yeah.
Scottsy in the chat, he says, not my list, but my prediction. He's talking Mario, Zelda, BG3, Spider-Man 2, and then an indie, whether it be Dave the Diver or Sea of Stars. I think that's a safe bet. I think that's a safe bet. That's a pretty good safe bet. Okay. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a great conversation. I have had such fun chatting with you. And by the way, for those who wonder, Umbra was not able to make it. It's my fault. I didn't give him the link. I thought I did, but I didn't.
Oh,
I looked in the background. I'm like, oh, damn it. I thought I handed him the link. I was like, he'll jump in whenever he's ready. I look now and I'm like, I didn't send the man the link. I'm an idiot. Forgive me. Salute to the brother Infinite Umbra. We will have him on this show. It's been a while anyway. It's time for Umbra to come back on the show. I will make sure I get Umbra on the show. But I appreciate all y'all who've been here in the chat and on the panel. Salute to the man Paris Lily. And of course, the great Bit Cloud Gaming. Sir, onward and upward. So many great things happening for you. Looking as svelte as ever. Looking boss dog. Tell the fine people where they can find you. All the things you do on the net. Where we can keep up with your ongoing.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. You know, it's old times bringing up the breakfast with Boob. That's where I know Xanti here from. Breakfast with Boob.
Yes,
Shout out to Boob.
right.
Bringing
Shout
people together. I love Boob.
Does. For sure. Indeed, yes.
So thank you for having me. Again, shout out to Paris as well for coming through. It's always cool talking to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you guys can find me on my channel. It's Big Cloud Gaming. I don't know if you want to put a link there.
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah, and I'll put it in the show notes when it comes up and all that. So please go ahead. Yeah.
All right, but it's Big Cloud Gaming on YouTube, Twitch. You can find me, same thing. Big Cloud Gaming. You know, if you guys want to see my weight loss, I literally posted that this morning. Go on Twitter. Shout out to everybody who's been blowing up my DMs while I'm looking all over the place. My tweets are going everywhere. But shout out to everybody who's reached out to me about that. And I'm gonna say, yeah, man, you know, enjoy gaming, man. Enjoy life, man. Life's too short. You know, enjoy that time you got on this planet. Go enjoy those games. You know, we don't know how long we got. We might not have tomorrow. So
that's right.
You know, enjoy that. But you could also find me, lordsofgaming.net, where I write my reviews. You guys can check out my recent review is for Survival Mercs. Most of the stuff I'm playing right now is in early access. I'm giving opinion pieces on right now. But again, Spider-Man 2 just dropped. So a lot of stuff, man. It's a great year. And can't wait to see what 2024 brings and onwards. So shout out to you guys in the chat. And hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Excellent, sir. And how about you, One Bad Mother? I know you're still in between. You're still.
Yeah. You can just follow me on Twitter, mother_1 MUETHA_ONE. Don't ask me how I got that name handle. But anyways, yeah, it was just great being with you guys. Congrats, BitCloud. Great inspiration, man. I've gone through that phase before too. I used to have more cleavage in my ex. But anyways, so it can be done. It can be done.
Yes,
you know,
sir.
you can lose the weight. Just got to make some changes. So that's awesome to see what you did there. And other than that, man, you know, always great coming here to talk to you guys. So you know, Kay Asante, you know, we're always chatting and it's always fun. I've mentioned before, over and over again, love talking with you and Everborn because you bring your own opinions. You don't really get swayed by the herd, regardless of whether people like your opinions or not, and you're thoughtful about them. And that always makes it a fun conversation. I love talking to people, whether I agree with them or disagree with them, when they try to be really thoughtful and you know, consider other things. Try to consider more than the surface level, and you guys do that.
Absolutely.
And so thank you for having me. Thank you for the key, man. Thank you for the key.
Always. Big Cloud, you now also have the key. The key you have here right now is the key that is always used. We always use the same key. So you are always, that's why Paris will just show up. Anytime you're welcome to jump in whenever you feel like it. You have bars you want to get off. You are always welcome on this show, sir.
I'll definitely pull up for sure.
Indeed. Yes. And as for me, of course, Kay Asante, TK Asante, and all the places you want to find me. It was a great episode today. I'm really enjoying having a conversation. So, you know, and for those who are like, oh, there's no Everborn Saga this weekend, I will see Everborn Saga tomorrow because he's actually in town and we're gonna go have dinner. So you catch me on them Twitter streets, you'll see some pictures or whatever. I will leave you with one thing before we go. As I am a tech guy, this is the latest thing I'm reviewing. And yes, that looks exactly like you think it looks. That is a Series S. But no, it's not a Series S. What is it? It's a USB adapter. And what does it do? It lets you play PS5 and Xbox controllers on the Switch. So this is what I'll be using. I'll be using this to play Tears of the Kingdom and all the other things with proper controllers. Yes.
You have to let us know how that works, because I tried to
Yes.
do that with the PS4. I kept buying those adapters
like.
on. Yeah, I bought one after another because I wanted to use the Elite controller on the PS4, and they would work okay, and then then they'd stop working, and I could never figure out why.
Yeah, I'll test it out and let you know. This is the newest one. I have another one that works excellently. I got this for the sole purpose of, they totally stole the Series S design, so I'm just like, let's go. It's basically the Xbox Series S as a USB key. It's fantastic. I will update folks on the Twitter if it works and how it works. You'll see me playing probably Tears of the King, most likely Mario Wonder with the old Xbox controller. So check me out on there. But Monday night, myself and John Wolf will be back. We'll be talking more PCMR stuff. I might talk a bit about this because it also is PC compatible. So I might try some stuff and let folks know how that works. But it has been awesome chopping it up with everybody. I have really, really enjoyed this episode. And yeah, I say keep it gaming. Talk to you next week. Have a good weekend. Peace, everybody.
Thanks for being on it.